How does a man get to be a pimp?
I can show you a way out. There's another way around to the road.
Another way to the road? You know another way? Good. Come on in. Don't stand there. Look, you show me how to get out of here. I'll give you $1.
$3.
$3? Why, yeah, all right.
Go ahead. Arrest me. Take me in. You can't punish me. I'm sick. You can't punish me for being sick. All you can do is lock me up, but not forever. One day I'll get out. One day I'll get out. That's the law. That's the law. That's the law. And I'll be back. I'll be back. You'll hear from me. You know fucking
word. No, we won't. A, B, C. A, always B, B, C, closing. Always be closing. Always be closing.
Where's my hockey stick? Right where they belong.
That's faggot stuff.
Oh, Jesus. I wish you could see this. Lights coming up. I've never seen a painting that captures the beauty of the ocean.
Let's drink to this partnership. To the partnership.
You hear that, Dad? You're gonna pay! He's a molester. He's a child molester!
I just thought I might mosey over the war room for a few minutes, see what's doing over there.
What's up, feeling me up, faggot? Why, you getting a hard-on, faggot? Bitch ass!
You smoke this, and be sure you get the smoke deep down into your lungs.
I don't smoke.
It's tobacco. It's one of the healthiest things for your body. Now go ahead. You need all the strength you can get.
Wrestling! Hit me, Chief! Hit me, baby! Put it in the basket, Chief! Put it in the basket! All I want is a fucking number. That should be goddamn good enough for you. Now give me a fucking number! You fucking hear me? I'm sick of this fucking shit! Stop fucking treating me right. Give me a fucking number. I'll fucking kill you!
Daddy, did you see that? What? Guy got me on the ground. He tried to fuck me.
Stop what you're doing, cause I'm about to ruin the image and the style that you're used to. I look funny, but yo, I'm making money, see? So yo, world, I hope you're ready for me. Now gather round. I'm the new fool in town, and my sound's laid down by the underground. I drink a bottle of Hennessy you got on your shelf, so just let me introduce myself. My name is Humpty, pronounced with the umpty. Yo, ladies, oh, how I like to funk thee. And all the rappers in the top 10, please allow me to bump thee. I'm stepping tall, y'all, and just like Humpty Dumpty, you're gonna fall when the stereos pump me. I like to rhyme, I like my beats funky, I'm spunky. I like my oatmeal lumpy, I'm sick with this. Straight gangster Mac. But sometimes I get ridiculous. I'll eat up all your crackers and your licorice. Oh, yo, fat girl, come here, are you ticklish? Yeah, I called you fat. Look at me, I'm skinny. It never stopped me from getting busy. I'm a freak. I like the girls with the boom. I once got busy in a Burger King bathroom. I'm crazy. Allow me to amaze thee. They say I'm ugly, but it just don't faze me. I'm still getting in the girls' pants, and I even got my own dance. The Humpty Dance is your chance to do the hump. Come on. Do the Humpty Hump. Come on and do the Humpty Hump. Check me out, y'all. Do the Humpty Hump. Just watch me do the Humpty Hump. Yeah. Do you know what I'm doing the Humpty Hump?
Yeah. Last year's Apprentice on the Ron and Fez show.
You're really funny looking.
Earl, I need you to dress up like Humpty every once in a while on this show. This little nose thing would do it for you.
Big plastic nose?
Yeah.
I'm surprised I didn't catch on more.
Ron and Fez show. I'm Ron, there's Fez.
Hiya, buddies.
And there's Earl in the music today.
Hello, everybody.
Doing the Humpty dance. Is it Day Free Fridays, or are we letting them back on the show? I screwed up yesterday. That's really my fault.
I think we have to wait till next Thursday.
Although we'll make you feel good about this. Wiki took us out to dinner last night, and we just damaged his credit card. It was just embarrassing the way we hit all over it. We went to Kraft. Who's the big celebrity chef there, Fez? Tom,
I want to say like Curcielli or something like that.
That would be a nice racist way to put it, but we just can't throw out any Goomba name and think we can get away with it. So yeah, we had this fabulous, fabulous dinner, and it was Fez and I and Wiki, and then Earl had to bring me something, so Earl came down and enjoyed the meal. everybody there once again except for East Side Dave. The man who's been missing just tons of the food. Just hasn't been not involved in the dinner situation.
Oh, and it was, I looked it up on the website, the restaurant.
Yeah.
Craft steak. It was so supple, juicy.
What was it? Supple?
Supple and juicy, and it looked so delicious. I couldn't believe, and I was in my pajamas eating like Doritos. It was so depressing.
Here was the other part of it. Then, walking by us on the way to the bathroom, Elaine from Seinfeld, the beautiful Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who literally had to rub past us on the way to take a long, hot pee.
And it was long, too. She was in there forever.
Well, there's other women, too, Fez. You got to remember that. It's not like with us, like if somebody's in the stall and on the urinal, we just use the sink.
When we saw Julia Louis-Dreyfus, I just laughed to myself even more because I know Eastside Dave is such a Seinfeld fan, too.
I had no idea.
Yeah, not only do I find Seinfeld to be one of the greatest shows of all time, I've always found her so hot. I've probably spanked it 45 times to her.
Here's the weird thing. She is so cute in real life. She's just adorable. And all she wanted to do with us all night was talk Seinfeld stories.
And
remember this episode, then we were all playing trivia.
And
why didn't you come?
She's married to... I wasn't invited. But she's married to that big, goofy...
She's married to Brad Hall?
Yeah,
Brad Hall.
And I always thought if there's someone who like Brad Hall's kind of me looking, like big, tall, and goofy.
You do.
Goofy redhead.
So I would be like a younger version of Brad Hall. I could definitely steal her away.
All right, here's the smart thing that Brad Hall did. He got her early. I think when whenever we saw her, she was already with that guy.
Oh, yeah.
I think they were like in a comedy team or something. Some little troupe out of Chicago. All these little improvs out of Chicago. People in Chicago can't have a script. I don't know what it is about them, but they got to just make it up on stage.
Oh, they feel the written word is beneath them, Ronnie.
So, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, she came to New York for SNL back in the real bad days. I guess she's back to redo the show now?
Yeah, she is going to host this weekend.
Now, is this her first time being back to host?
Yeah, it must be. Yeah, definitely.
'Cause I know everybody... I know Kramer hasn't hosted it, but I know the other two have from Seinfeld.
Seinfeld and Costanza both done it.
No Kramer, though, right?
No Michael Richards. They didn't care for his work on Fridays, so he couldn't make it to Saturday Night Live.
Oh, the other guy was from did Fridays too, right? The guy who created Seinfeld.
Oh, yeah, Larry David.
Yeah, did he do Fridays? I believe he did.
I think so,
I think that's where he met Kramer. See, we know half facts, ladies and gentlemen. We know just a moment here or there. Here is Ray. Ray, you're on Ron and Fez.
Ronnie.
Yes, sir.
Dave just said he was in his pajamas.
Yeah, you know what? I let that get by me.
You did.
That big mongoloid. What are you doing? You're living alone wearing pajamas.
Pee-wee.
They're really comfortable, and I have a little slippers.
The whole point of living alone is that your dick should be swinging at all times.
They got footies in them?
Fez, you're not a pajama wearer, are you?
No, I do not wear pajamas.
What do you wear to sleep?
I wear a loose-fitting T-shirt and gym shorts.
Oh, I'm so glad you said gym shorts. I just had the picture of you in a nightie. So why do you do that? In case there's a fire in the middle of the night?
You know what's weird is, you know why I wear a shirt to bed? I have dreams that people come in my house. If I go to sleep without a shirt on,
right,
my dreams that night are that people show up in my house and I'm all embarrassed because I'm not wearing a shirt. It's very odd. It happens every time I try to sleep shirtless.
You really, and I mean this in the kindest way, you need a fucking shrink. You got to go in there and bolt the door.
You're
not
weird?
A guy. You're just not a guy. You're definitely not a girl, but you're not a guy either.
Yeah, anytime I sleep shirtless, I have that weird dream that I'm in front of people shirtless.
This was supposed to be the time that we all make fun of Dave for being weird. And then you have to go running out and saying this crazy story. I want this to be Fez Takes No Hassle Friday. But do not point at yourself and yell out, I have dreams, I'm embarrassed that people saw my man titties. It's just, I can't tell you how little it matters, Fez.
It's a phobia like anything else.
But do you have anything but phobias? God forbid that spotlight was off your weirdness for a second. You had to bring it back like the dancing frog from WB. I don't even know if that metaphor made it even the slightest bit of sense.
I think it's why I don't sleep in my underwear
when
either.
you see someone else shit themselves, don't you yell out, hey, I've got a turd in my pants too. Keep it quiet.
Gotta keep my turds to myself.
Paul, you're on Ron and Fez. How are you, buddy?
Hey, boys. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Listen, also a couple of other characters on Seinfeld that were on Fridays. The rabbi.
The rabbi did Fridays, you're right. The rabbi who started to hit on Elaine, he was a regular cast member on Fridays. Who else?
And also...
the guy with the mustache, right? Played a small part on Seinfeld, one of the episodes.
No, there was a mom with a kid that Seinfeld was cursing in front of the kid, and the kid kept repeating the curses.
Now, I'm not even sure if everybody remembers Fridays. This was I believe, early 80s ripoff of Saturday Night Live that came on Friday night, called itself Fridays, was completely, not even like Mad TV where it's somewhat different, but was really just a West Coast Saturday Night Live, and it only lasted 2-3 seasons tops.
Yeah, Larry David did work for both shows.
Larry David worked for Fridays first and then came over as a writer for Saturday Night Live?
SNL, yes.
Yeah.
And they always had they had actually edgier musical guests, too. I remember The Clash did the show.
Jim Carroll did the show?
Yeah, Jim Carroll did the show. They were trying to sell themselves as sort of like a real punk, not a punk rock version of SNL, but...
Well, you know, when, at the same time in the early 80s, Lorne had left, and it got very, very corporate with the guests. That's when they started to pick the, who's got a number one single musical guest, which may be good for that week's bump, but doesn't hold up history-wise. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's when, I think it was Dick Ebersol took over.
Dick Ebersol took over for like 3-4 years, and that's when he went from, okay, it's the Eddie Murphy show, he tried to fix that, to... it's the Yankees. We're just going to go out and get and buy as much talent as we can. It's not a real team. It's all-stars who each do their own scene. So that's when they brought in Billy Crystal and Chris Guest. And
Martin Short.
Martin Short, who had been big on Saturday Night Live. But, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, is that a Julia?
Julia.
Yeah, I call her Julie now because, unlike Dave, I spent the last night playing Seinfeld trivia with her. Which, Dave, I wish you would have been there, jammies. I wish you would have got out of your jammies and come down. She was one of those people who did not do well on Saturday Night Live, and there's a lot of them that went on to do well in the rest of the show business.
Yeah, Joan Cusack was the Saturday Night Live girl.
Yeah, but I call that cheating because she was already Joan Cusack before she went to Saturday Night Live. That's one of those people that they tried to bring to Saturday Night Live that you already know.
Yeah, they did the same thing with Randy Quaid. They brought in Randy Quaid.
Right, Randy Quaid was already Randy Quaid before he got there. Robert Downey, they did it with. But Sarah Silverman was on Saturday Night Live for a little while. Did not do well. Did not work out for her.
Janine Garofalo.
Another good name. She came on. Nobody cared. Jay Moore never really hit on Saturday Night Live. He hit after.
Well, very underutilized was Chris Rock.
Chris Rock was there for a long time, never found his pacing. And really, when you look at it, he's still not an actor yet. I mean, the stuff that he's really funny at is his own stand-up. But when you see a Chris Rock movie, you don't find yourself laughing.
And I think Chappelle was a featured guy for like a minute on SNL, I think for a season.
Really?
That I don't remember, but it is possible because the Wayland brother, he was on there and didn't do well. And then he went on and did great, with his own brothers.
Damon.
Yeah, Damon Wayans.
I can't tell which one. It's one of them. The one who probably did better than the rest of them.
That's Damon.
Yeah. Here is Tony. Tony, you're on Ron and Fez.
What's up, buddies?
Hey, buddy.
2002.
What's happening?
Hey, I just want to go down this line about Fez and his gym shorts.
You see what happens, Fezzy?
I didn't mean to start a controversy.
Well, you don't start a controversy, but there was no reason for you to find yourself in the bucket. It was somebody else's time.
Hey, Ronnie, one other thing. I just want to know, or a little add to the show. Remember the motorcycle gang leader from Any Which Way But Loose? Any Which Way You Can. Great.
I remember the motorcycle gang. I don't know if I remember the leader.
I remember the fat little round leader, but I don't remember his name.
Yeah, you guys got to get his quotes on the show. That guy's the best.
Now, are you sure you don't have him with the fat little leader of the motorcycle guy from the beach movies, like the Frankie Avalon movies?
No. I'm
remember that guy, Fez?
I totally remember that guy, yeah.
I adore her. I idolize her. She's the best. 866 Ron Zero Fez. 866 Ron Zero Fez. Hey, John, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, Ronnie, Johnny Greek from New York. I just want to remind you, wasn't Fridays the show where Michael Richards and Andy Kaufman pulled that gag on Jack Burns where they broke character and Burns freaked out and tried to kill Andy Kaufman live
But here's the thing, Burns was also in character.
Oh, so it was a setup the whole time?
Yeah, the whole thing was just wrestling. So Andy came in, wrote a wrestling bit. Everybody went with it. Then when they did the spin, they still acted like half of it was real. So I know a lot of people hate that kind of James Fry stuff. Sometimes I think it works.
Yeah, Jack Burns, if you watch that footage, it's like he's in a satin Fridays tour jacket.
He wore that every week.
As he took the stage.
That was the Eagles tour jacket look. That was very big in the late 70s. Linda Ronstadt used to have that jacket, and it was like, I'm a sexy skater. Not rollerblader, roller skater. Here's Ryan. Ryan, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Hey, buddy.
Kind of like Brad Hall, a guy who absolutely did nothing on Saturday Night Live, was A. Whitney Brown. Remember that guy was on for years?
A. Whitney Brown is actually brilliant. Just a brilliant writer. And I don't know whether Saturday Night Live ever worked out for him, but a lot of the people who did Saturday Night Live will tell you, like, one of the funniest people they've ever met is A. Whitney Brown.
Really?
Yeah. Some people can write, but they're not really performers, or I always thought he was a great stand-up, too, but he's very, very laid back. 866 Ron Zero Fez. 866 Ron Zero Fez. Here's Rob. Rob, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Yeah.
To bring up, y'all were talking about the motorcycle leader and Every Which Way But Loose.
Yeah.
His name was Chola.
It's just not there for me. I know there was a fake motorcycle gang that was very stereotypical, but I can't picture one face.
He was a fat little round guy, kind of looked like...
I adore her. She is my idol.
And on his fat belly, he had a tarantula tattoo.
Johnny, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, wasn't it, didn't Fear perform on Fridays?
I know Fear did Saturday Night Live because I know Belushi brought him back. I saw that in the Shales book, but...
I remember when Fear was the only band that got faded out.
Fridays?
I don't know whether they did Fridays or not. They may have.
Yeah, Fear was the only band on SNL that got faded out. They wouldn't let them finish the song.
Why did they do that?
Because there was a big giant mosh pit on the sound stage.
Yeah, but if you ever looking at mosh pit, Belushi was in there like 2 or 3 years after he had already done Saturday Night Live. Rob, you're on Ron and Fez.
What's up, buddies?
Yeah.
AC276.
Hey, buddy.
Just want to let you know, when Lorne left the show, he was replaced by Woody Allen's producer, Gene Domanian, and Ebersol was the one who tried to clean it up by bringing in Eddie Murphy and everybody.
Well, yeah, but, Ebersol was also her boss. She was kind of the fall girl in that, and it went really it was a David Lee Roth type of deal where she was barely there. Something like 9 shows or something ridiculous.
Ebersol fired Larry David because Larry David didn't want to write overnights there.
Right. Well, Larry David, a lot of the stuff that he wrote on Saturday Night Live actually became sketches on the Seinfeld show. He'd fleshed them out, and they became Seinfeld episodes. But, it's so weird how much history is with Saturday Night Live, as if it was important. You know what I mean? People write about that more than almost anything. There's got to be a dozen books written about it by now.
The death of Saturday Night Live comes up like the death of communism. Is this it? Is this the end?
Well, it won't end because it's a moneymaker. That's the thing. No matter whether you think it's a good show or not, it's really pretty much been on autopilot, on and off for 30 years. Earl and I were talking about Rolling Stone is the same way, where you're going, Jesus, this isn't as good as the old Rolling Stone. But you're still reading every damn issue, and just hoping that you get some flash.
Does
out
not
of it.
have the same pop at all. Where it used to be a really big deal when you made the cover of Rolling Stone.
Right.
That was like, you made it. That's the sign of like you finally popped. And now it's just like they put anybody on the cover, pretty much.
Well, they do put popbacks on there, and they never used to do that. They never would have put somebody like, Donna Summer, I guess, or somebody like that in the 70s on there just because you had hits. Where now, if you have a couple of hits, you're one of the Simpsons, you're going to go on the cover of Rolling Stone.
I think there was like a period where Britney had the cover like 3 times in less than like 4 months or something. It was ridiculous.
It was, yeah.
The Idols get the cover.
Yeah, the Idols get the cover, and it's not the same thing. And then that's what happened when people are talking about the Dick Ebersol years that kind of changed everything with Saturday Night Live is he started to give the hosting shots, to people who already had NBC shows. He was doing the right thing, cross-promoting for the company, and the hipness factor went out of Saturday Night Live and probably has stayed out of it.
Yeah, like those. If you watch those early shows, the musical acts alone were so incredibly hip. They weren't necessarily selling records, but
oh yeah, in the early days.
Yeah, they had Ornette Coleman, they had Leon Redbone, they had.
Well, you would just have people also just showing up and playing together. You had like George Harrison playing with Paul Simon. There was no reason to do that other than do something cool. It wasn't meant to sell albums. Now, if your albums do out, one of the things you try to get is Saturday Night Live and Rolling Stone at the same time.
Or if you're hip, or if you're like trying to regain your hip factor somehow, like doing Saturday Night Live sort of regains your hip factor. Like
it's just any marketing tool. It's any marketing tool now.
Yeah, like Pearl Jam, who didn't do any TV appearances. Their first TV appearance in years is SNL.
Do you know who the musical guest is this weekend, Earl, with Julia Louis-Dreyfus?
I think it's Paul Simon.
Can't beat that. Here's Murph. Murph, you're on Ron and Fez.
Yeah, do you remember on Fridays there was a chick, Melanie Chartoff?
Oh, yeah, she was kind of hot.
Yeah, she had big titties and shit.
I don't know if I'd say the titties were too big, but there was something about her.
Yeah, and that show came on just around the same time I learned how to jerk off, so I fucking spanked many a batch to her.
Well, congratulations for you.
Way to spend your Friday night.
Is this Dave calling from the other room? Dave, someone's doing your character. You're letting it go by. 866-RON-0-FEZ, 866-RON-0-FEZ. Are we without interns today? Oh, okay.
Pitts is here. Johnny just came in.
When Pitsy's here, I like to see him on the phones and not Mr. Bad Spell. But that's me. I know Mr. Bad Spell. That's another nickname that I have for Dave. Loves to be in there acting like he's running the phones, but let's face it, Pitts is the guy. Scott, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, buddies.
Yeah.
I remember seeing Elvis Costello play Saturday Night Live, and he was supposed to play the song Radio Radio, which was a diatribe against commercial radio, which GE, of course, had a big interest in and didn't want him to play it. So
all that's false, Scott. The thing is, he was they don't care what song you play. He started one song and then went into Radio Radio.
Yeah, they wanted him to do Less Than Zero.
No, nobody wanted him to do anything. He came in and said, here's the songs I want to do. Started to play. There was no censorship that got on, but one thing that they do on that show is blocking. They block the shots. So they were kind of freaked out that suddenly you were doing something that you hadn't done. They act like it's a live show, but the reality of it is it's a planned show. But it wasn't like GE was trying to stop the song Radio Radio because it was so powerful that somehow it was going to move the youth of the country.
I remember Lorne Michaels was pissed and banned him for 13 years from doing
At least, all the way up until they did the 25th anniversary. 866-RON-0-FEZ, 866-RON-0-FEZ. Hey, Bob, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Yeah.
Hey, remember a show, Don Kirshner's Rock Concert?
Oh, yeah.
You guys remember that in the 70s?
Yeah.
I remember when I was a kid, I seen this one band up there, cute guys singing and stuff. Cute girls singing, it seemed like. I seen them singing Love and Touching and Squeezing before I realized it was Journey and a guy standing there singing.
So you were jacking off a little bit to Journey.
No.
Thanks, guys.
You know, I'm sure things like that happen more than people like to admit.
The intros for those things were hilarious because Don Kirshner was so stiff on camera.
With his big comb over.
Yeah, he had a big comb over and just absolutely petrified. And, hi, I'm Don. It was like, could you read the prompt card a little bit more obviously?
I'm Don Kirshner, and somehow I'm involved with organized crime. You had Don Kirshner, and then Midnight Special used to play on the whatever night wasn't Don Kirshner, and that was with Wolfman Jack. 866-RON-0-FEZ, 866-RON-0-FEZ. Hey, Steve.
Hey, Ron, how you doing? Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
I want to talk about Richard Belzer. Was he on
Bells.
Saturday Night Live? The Bells.
Was he on Saturday Night Live? Belzer was one of those people that thought he was going to be in the original cast, that when you read the books and Lorne Michaels got to New York and was going, I want to see who the comics are. Belzer was always like New York City's MC at the time, a Catch a Rising Star and stuff. So Belzer took him all around town, showed him different things, thought he was going to be part of it, never was. So as far as I know, Belzer has never done the show and probably holds a 30-year grudge.
I never remember Belzer being on there.
And what's weird is on the Man on the Moon, the Andy Kaufman biopic, Richard Belzer is the host for some reason.
On Saturday Night Live?
Yeah, he was the host of SNL, and that's where George Carlin should have been. So I was always ripped off by that.
So the first Saturday Night Live, Andy Kaufman was on?
The very first SNL, he was on with the Mighty Mouse routine. It was George Carlin, but on the movie they had Richard Belzer for some bizarre reason.
Was it Richard Belzer playing George Carlin?
Or no, he was just being Richard Belzer in it. Here is Jason. Jason, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Yeah.
I always thought that the musical performances were more memorable than any of the skits they ever did, and I think that's what's keeping the show going.
What's keeping the show going is the same thing that we were talking about with Rolling Stone, is that you are used to it, and every once in a while, something reminds you of why you like the show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like what keeps the Today Show going. It's just been there so long that if you somehow get equity into a time period, and you just keep on to it. But really, people are acting like they ought to get rid of that show. Just cancel it. Why? What else is going to go there? Another rerun? Why would it matter? Why not just leave the thing on there and see if sooner or later it can get worked out? Here's our buddy Bobo. Hello, Bobo.
Hi, buddies. How you
doing? Hey,
buddy.
Hey,
back to the biker you were talking about. I was rushing over here trying to get on the phone to call you. The character's name was Eric Von Zipper.
Eric Von Zipper.
Very good, Bobo.
I adore her. She is my idol.
And
I'm going to give him the finger.
Remember the weird thing he'd do where he'd, like, click his fingers, slap his hands, and then point his thumbs behind his back, and that meant you had to leave?
Yeah. Do you ever notice, like, we talked about this before, of, like, stupid movies you don't turn off? I never turn off one of those dumb Frankie Avalon movies. And I will sit there for, an hour going, how did they make money doing this? Why did they do it? And yet I don't turn it off.
And you look at them, they have, like, little Stevie Wonder playing harmonica.
Yeah, they'll do stuff like that. Like, there'll be a big fight, and then they'll go, hey, everybody, it's Herman and the Hermits.
What was the one, like, I think it was Ski Party, and they had, like, James Brown, like, this big...
That's what, they flipped it up by, instead of surfing, they were skiing in the snow. But everything was exactly the same.
Like, James Brown and just, like a Letterman sweater.
Yeah.
They just tried to make this very black guy look very white.
He's hanging with us at the lodge.
Bobo, we're going to see you tomorrow night at the party at Caravas?
Yeah, buddies, I'm going to make the sincere effort. I'm trying to figure out which glorious form of transportation to take, the China bus or the Greyhound bus.
Oh, no KOP coming up this time, huh?
Nah, I think he's broke.
Broke. I ain't saying he's a gold digger. All right, thanks, Bobo.
See you tomorrow.
Love you, buddies.
I thought he started hating Fez. Something used to go down between KOP and Fez that seems like it's ended.
Yeah, we haven't seen KOP in quite a while. He's not making the effort anymore.
When you say we, do you mean you and your penis?
No, I don't mean me and my penis.
Or is this because
Shorty?
Is it because at this party Rory's back?
Rory's supposed to be at this party.
You excited?
Yes, very.
Is that why you got your hair cut?
No, I didn't get my hair cut.
Combing it different. Something special you're doing for him.
I'm using deodorant now.
I bet when you and Roy see each other, there's going to just be a hush over the whole room. Earl, make sure the DJ plays something nice.
Like reunion.
Actually, the DJ will be playing something nice because he will also be Mikey D.
Oh, no.
Oh, man.
I can't have a fucking back-to-back Poison night.
Now maybe I can't make it.
No, I don't want a DJ then. Just quiet. I don't know what's worse, Mikey on stage or Mikey in the box. It's just such a nightmare. Here's George. George, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, do you guys remember when they had David Bowie on Saturday Night Live? I was a little kid, but
When he wore a dress?
It was like wooden. He couldn't move. You couldn't see his legs. He looked like a doll.
Oh, yeah, that was a different one when he did the doll character.
Okay, I didn't remember that one.
Yeah, it was the same episode, I think. One time he was a doll. The next time, he looked like he was some kind of 1945 whack that came to entertain the troops. He was so crazy for a while.
Where you from?
Hey, Scott. Scott, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, Ron, hey, Fez. One of the best things on Saturday Night Live has always been those cartoons by Robert Smigel, like the Ace and Gary, the gay duo.
Yeah.
Those are hilarious.
TV Fun House, the TV Fun House. Yeah, normally that is a high point, tell you the truth. Although I hate when they do the real audio one. That one it never makes me laugh.
They just, a couple of weeks ago, that was one of their clip shows where it was just the best of TV Funhouse.
Here's John. John, you're on Ron and Fez.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know the musical guests on SNL, they've got them out on CD. They put a 25-year anniversary out with really good stuff on
yeah.
it. Nirvana did Rape Me. Beastie Boys did a version of Sabotage that would just blow your speakers out. It's really
well,
good stuff.
when you start to look over the 25 years of that they did then, there's a hell of a lot of high points in terms of sketches. You know, it may drive you crazy on any kind of nightly or weekly thing to be a fan, but over time, there's probably most TV high points are there.
Even the like the cringe-inducing ones are really memorable. I remember Marion Faithfull did Broken English. She's all coked out, and she lost her voice like partway through the song, so she's just like whispering the song.
I don't remember that at all. I'd love to see it.
It's so cringe-inducing because you
what year was that? Do you remember?
It's like 80. Like 79, 80. Like,
yeah.
It was the tail end of the Lorne Michaels years, part one.
So he just brings up Marianne Faithfull because he loved her when he was younger, and then he ends up with just wrecked Marianne Faithfull, who, for people who don't know who she was a sex symbol in the 60s, you know, dating various members of the Rolling Stones, who went on to become the first Courtney Love. By the time 1980s rolled around, she was Courtney Love before we even knew what it meant to be Courtney Love.
Yeah, she was kind of she had an album out called Broken English, which is an amazing album.
Yeah.
So they brought her on the show, and it's like watching a car crash because she's just out of her skull, and then she's trying to sing, and she's
Speaking of watching a car crash, last night we saw a woman get hit by a truck. That's another thing you miss, Dave. You miss some guy in an SUV knocking a woman on her ass.
I couldn't believe that. I heard the scream and the thud. I heard her umbrella hit the metal of his truck.
Yeah.
And then she's just out in the crosswalk. As soon as she picks herself up, she was down for a couple minutes there. As soon as she picked herself up, she was in that driver's window, letting that guy have a piece of her mind.
It's a very weird thing in New York. When you're walking, you hate the drivers. When you're driving, you hate everyone who's walking. You can't remember either experience, the other person's experience.
And the other drivers could care less. They're just like, get out of the way.
And they just started beeping and yelling. And there's a woman down, and you don't know how bad she is.
Yeah, the guy who hit her stopped because he hit a woman, and everyone's just honking for him to get out of the road.
Eric, you're on Ron and Fez.
Oh, hey.
Hey,
What's
buddy.
up, guys? Hello?
Yes, go ahead, pal.
Oh, yeah, good, great. Hey, going back to SNL thing, would you say that probably Sinead O'Connor, remember that moment where after she did her act, she tore up the picture of the Pope?
Yeah.
Would you say that's probably the most controversial, maybe not moment, but certainly the most controversial musical guest?
You know what? It only got controversial after the fact. I was watching that night and wasn't freaked out or, as a Catholic, offended or weirded out by it. It was only sometime after the fact where the media turned it into something bigger than it was. I mean, she didn't rip up the actual Pope. She ripped up a picture of him. Why act like that's the worst thing that could ever happen?
I remember watching it that night, seeing the Pope picture get ripped up and just thinking, well, that was goofy. What did that mean? It was just went completely over my head.
No.
Yeah, like most things.
No. Did you almost drop your short shorts?
I remember seeing Clinton do the show, and they sung a song, I Called My Baby Pussy.
Yeah.
It's like, and he's spelling the word out.
Nobody understands him. See, here's where I want to get with the Pope thing. And I was raised a Catholic. I know we have a lot of Catholics in this country. It's probably the number one religion, right? You don't fucking run us. Well, you're not the king. You're the Pope. No matter what we think on Sunday, we do need some freedom of speech. And Lauren Michaels, you big pussy, you should have backed her up. Now, the reason why you didn't back her up is because she didn't do that in rehearsal. And everything has to be rehearsed for Lauren. Everything has to be just perfect for him.
And part of the deal to kind of make it go away is it's in a vault forever. You can never see it ever again. Unless you TiVoed it or taped it, you will never see that on television ever again.
I bet it's on YouTube right now. If I go to YouTube, I bet I can find it. But I'll give you another example of this. And I don't like people who kowtow to the Pope or any other religion. If you're trying to make art. Tom Hanks this week, they've got this Da Vinci Code coming out. Now, obviously, the Catholic Church doesn't like this. The Greek Orthodox Church is angry about it. I can't imagine the Protestants are too happy with the book. Here's the gimmick on the book. That Jesus did not live his life celibate, as we were taught when we were kids. Mary Magdalene was not just somebody who followed him around, was his wife. When Jesus was crucified, Mary Magdalene was pregnant with his baby. That's the basic premise of the start of the book. Now, you can understand why churches wouldn't like this story, you know? But they don't get the opportunity to stop film. I don't think. Tom Hanks comes out this week with a completely different... Tom Hanks starring in the film. And what did he have to say, Fez?
He says, we always knew there would be a segment of society that would not want this movie to be shown. But the story is, well, the story we tell is loaded with all sorts of hooey and fun kind of scavenger hunt type nonsense.
So he's trying to play down the basic premise of why 40 million people went out and bought this stupid book to begin with. Because he is afraid right now of the church stopping people from seeing this film. Now, on the other hand, the church has never really liked anything. They never liked the Rolling Stones, most movies they didn't like. I'm sure you're not even going to get the Pope to say, oh, James Bond, that's a lot of fun.
Remember what Scorsese went through with The Last Temptation of Christ? And
Scorsese had to travel around with security because he was afraid. He was absolutely afraid of them, you know, of people threatening him. But why is Tom Hanks acting like, okay, this film that we did is not controversial, it's just a silly little film and it doesn't hurt anybody?
Tom Hanks is afraid that the backlash towards the film, if there becomes one, is going to start spreading on him. It's going to splash on him, and he's America's boy sweetheart.
All right, but here's the thing, Fez. How many movies do you ever see where the president is a bad guy? We have those movies. Where large corporations kill people. We have those movies. Where cops and mayors are really running the mafia. It doesn't mean that it's 100% true. It's done in terms of the film. Why do you now have to worry because it's the church who's upset with you?
And I think also he's scared that, you know, he saw what happened to Tom Cruise and the whole Scientology thing. He's afraid of that similar backlash also.
Exactly. All because, and that's what they do to get your ass in line. That's why I haven't jumped into the Tom Cruise bashing. Because I see that if you're a good little boy and you don't do anything fucking wrong and you're real nice and you don't take any political sides, that everybody will back you 100%. But as soon as you say something slightly out of the ordinary, they're going to take your place in life.
And that's where Hanks is now, being that nervous about this.
Which means you are just another cog in the machine. And it's just fucking stupid. Here's Eric. Eric, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm really tired of the Catholic Church's hypocrisy on this. When the Muslims were rioting and complaining about those cartoons, everybody in the Catholic Church and all the other religions were coming out saying, "Oh, those damn Muslims, those damn Muslims."
No, not the Pope. The Pope. No, that's wrong, Eric. The Pope backed them up.
Right, the Pope backed
The Pope
them.
said some things you cannot joke about. And that's where you get into a point where, well, who decides? Oh, the leaders of the church decide what's good for the rest of us. Well, we're not fucking peasants. We're not sitting outside some big place. You can have your own religious beliefs, but it does not become law. You got to be very, very careful about that shit. Here is Dusty. Dusty, you're on Ron and Fez. Dusty, go ahead, pal.
Hey.
Yeah.
I was raised Southern Baptist, Protestant Christian, and I believe that Mary was his wife, too. And I think it all stems from back in medieval times when the Bible was translated so many times, the holier-than-thou attitude, wanting everybody to look up to something impossible in a pureness light, and it's just not possible. They wanted, an ideological being where Jesus was a man.
Right.
There's no doubt in that.
Well, the fact of the matter is we don't really know exactly everything that this guy did. Now, is the Da Vinci Code a book of fiction? Absolutely. That is the way that it was written. So if it's fiction, why is the church upset telling people not to see it? I know the Greek Orthodox Church says they definitely don't want their people to see it. I'm not sure exactly where the Catholics are on this. Do you know right now, Fez?
I think, they said don't go see it. I'm pretty sure that they said this isn't a film that you should be seeing.
Which, to me, if I was running a film, would be the best damn thing I've ever heard in my life. See the film the church doesn't want you to see. Now, where are the Protestants on this, Earl?
Pretty much somewhere in the middle. There was like, well, we know the book is it's fiction.
Right.
But for me as a Baptist, we were always encouraged, use your own damn mind. It's like, you know what I mean? It's just sort of, it's fiction, and if a book of fiction is shaking your faith, you really don't have that faith at all. You know what I mean? I don't know.
So you're saying if you really have faith, you should be open to hearing anything, and your faith should see you through.
Yes, exactly.
Or that if you have faith and the first thing that tempts you or changes you, you never had the faith to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, if a book of fiction is rattling your faith, you have to really seriously question your faith.
Interesting viewpoint. I cannot believe it. But, Earl, you've shown a little light on this. Here's Joe. Joe, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, buddies. The way my church looks at it is it's just another form to prove that Jesus existed. And
so your church is at the point where we're still trying to prove that he existed.
It just redefines the belief that, he did exist.
Mm-hmm. All right. So that's where his church is going. Their church is going, see, there was a man named Jesus. We're not making this up.
So, cardinals speaking on behalf of the Vatican have asked Catholics not to go watch this film, boycott the film, calling it highly blasphemous.
I might finally get the seats I want in one of these things.
Now, one archbishop from the Vatican, he said that if such lies and errors had been directed at the Quran and the Holocaust, they would have justly provoked a world uprising. But instead, they're directed against the church and the Christians, and they remain unpunished.
So his point is the Catholics really don't know how to get out there and riot properly. We don't know how to take to the streets.
No one's been burned. No one's been trampled in a riot.
Well, we could do that if we need to. We can riot a little bit. Hey, Dave, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, Ronnie Fezzi.
Hey.
Hey, look, in the Da Vinci Code, I don't know if either one of you had actually read the book or actually seen some of the evidence that this was all based on, but the part that was amazing for me was the actual picture, the Last Supper picture. How can anyone say that John sitting next to Jesus doesn't look exactly like a woman?
Well, I went back and looked at that, and I got to agree with you 100%. Now, does that mean anything? No. It might have meant Da Vinci believed that Mary Magdalene was there. And obviously she was there. Why later on the church decided there were no women with Jesus, or she was somehow different from everybody else, it really doesn't make much sense.
Someone had to serve the dinner.
Thanks, Brian. But, Da Vinci really didn't come along to 1500 anyway. So no matter what he believed, it doesn't really change anything that was going on any more than if it's something that we believe.
It's not taken from a photograph.
Thomas, you're on Ron and Fez.
Yo, boys.
Hey.
I think the Vatican's deal is that their number one selling book of fiction has a little competition going on.
All right, see, now that's the other shot that they hate when brings up. I know that one gets to you, Earl. It's one book of fiction against another book of fiction.
Which one is fiction?
What did Patti Smith say, Earl?
People have the power?
No. She said Jesus died for somebody's sin. But not mine, baby. Here is Bob. Bob, you're on Ron and Fez. Bob, go ahead, pal.
Yeah, what's up, buddies?
Yeah.
I was going to say, there's nothing new with the church and the controversy with film and Jesus having kids, because the same thing happened with Marty Scorsese in The Last Temptation of Christ, William Dafoe.
Actually, years ago, have you ever heard the term banned in Boston and all that? That was because the Catholic Church used to have a lot of heat in Boston, where there were so many Catholics there, and there were so many that were in political places, that the church used to be able to call up the mayor or the police chief or whatever and get some things taken out, like rock and roll didn't immediately have a foothold there, and a lot of just normal films that maybe showed some cleavage they could keep out of Boston. Here's Brian. Brian, you're on the Ron and Fez show. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, Ronnie.
What do you say, dude?
First of all, I'd like to say I read the book, and nowhere on the book, in the title or on the binder, do I see anything that says it's fiction.
Well, when do you ever see that on a book?
Well, I read a lot of fiction, and on the
when you read Catcher in the Rye, right? Does it say this is a work of fiction on the cover or on the binder?
I believe so.
I mean, first of all, every character who's in that book, the Da Vinci Code, is a made-up character. I guarantee
Absolutely.
you. Yes. So other than the fact of Jesus, unless you think he's a made-up character.
I don't have an argument with that. I'm just saying that I think some of the religious people believe that Dan Brown didn't write this as a work of fiction. I personally believe it is fiction, but I love the book.
First of all, you'd have to be a retard to think that the modern-day characters are real. They're not. You would be able to have police records to show that these murders took place in the Louvre. So, Brian, you're not even making the slightest bit of sense.
He needs fiction written on green eggs and ham, too.
I think you're missing my point.
I don't know if you have one.
Well, I do. I was just simply stating that I don't believe the book said it was fiction. That's not the point. I believe the book is fiction, but I also think it was a great book.
All right, I'm going to let you go just for being a crazy person.
The same thing happened when Hershey's thought that Charlie and the Chocolate Factory was a real piece of work and not fiction.
866 Ron Zero Fez. 866 Ron Zero Fez. You're sitting here trying to have a conversation, and a guy's talking nutty to you. You're trying to have a goddamn conversation. The guy just starts talking wacky. Don, you're on Ron and Fez.
Yeah, Ron, do you think the church feels challenged by the book because it presents a viewpoint that women should have been part of the church in terms of its formation and authority and running it and establishing precedents? And that certainly isn't the case now, and since most of the Vatican is mostly comprised of men.
Right. Well, I mean, if you look into this, and it's a very good point that in the Catholic religion, the women have always been subservient. One of the reasons was that they gave that Jesus had no time for women, that he wasn't a guy who wanted to be around women, didn't marry, went through life, and that's why the priests go through life the way that they do, more or less married to Jesus.
The book, they presented him as the first feminist, and I think it's a very shocking viewpoint to have, considering the patriarchal nature of the church.
Yeah, and, for the Protestants to say, oh, well, our church is different. Really, everything that you base your religion on is based on those books that the Catholics put together at the beginning. So you get to get a little bit of a base like, hey, we're going to cut out the hierarchy between us and the Word of God. But the Word of God was already set up by those original Catholics.
Do you think that the Crusades would have happened if women had a more authoritative role in the church and how it functioned?
You know what? I am now of the viewpoint that wars are just going to fucking happen. They just do, because people have no sense of history whatsoever. That we had after the Vietnam War, when everybody said, we're never going to get caught up in another Vietnam situation. We find ourselves now in Iraq, which is basically another Vietnam situation, a place that we got into and we don't know how to get out of.
Yeah, it's not like the country has to attack us before they get invaded by us now.
And it's not like women did not vote for George W. Bush. They did. It's not like women don't remember what life was, or a lot of them forget what life was like before them, before women's liberation. You have that all the time. It's just the fact of the matter is people do not like to think about a lot of this stuff. Here's Adam. Adam, you're on the Ron and Fez show. How are you, buddy? Adam.
Hey, how's it going, buddy?
Yeah.
Hey, Tom Hanks, he's the executive producer on that Big Love about them Mormons and shit on HBO.
Here's my problem. Have you ever watched Big Love?
I watched the first episode.
My problem is this, and it's a very well put together show. You get a guy that's got a bunch of wives, right? How come the wives aren't getting together? Stop it, acting like you have to go to a separate house for each one. Get them all in one big bed, and let's see the real fucking movie. Let's see the movie we're paying HBO to put out there for us. And it ain't about, I'm going to hug and kiss her, and then run next door and hug and kiss the other one. That's everybody together. You have a big bell that you ring, and they all come running.
It's all on a schedule on that show, every Tuesday.
Well, look who it is. Crazy Jen, how are you?
Hey, it's me. How are you?
Good. What can we do for you, Crazy Jen?
I got some things I want to talk about. Is that cool? This is what I want to talk about. Ron, I want to first apologize for getting a little pissed off yesterday about the whole interview thing.
Now, Fez, I get home after we play Crazy Jen's interview and get 3 ugly emails from her, all vicious,
you,
all accusatory, and the last one saying, I'm sending back my XM radio.
Oh, okay, we'll be looking for that in the mail then.
No, but Fezzy, no, you can't jump to conclusions why I'm doing this. Can I tell you why my little feelings got hurt?
Go ahead.
It's because why is it that Earl's got to jump down my throat and he's got to pull out the race card that I'm a racist or I talk like a black person or I'm trying to make fun of black people or this, that, and the other. And Earl is the whitest person I think I know. I don't care about his skin color. And I'm funny, too.
All right.
Who's need to criticize me?
First of all, no one ever said, we played her interview yesterday. Nobody ever said you were making fun of that guy that you were talking to. But you were talking much more black than what you're talking now. You got ghetto with him.
But what I don't understand what that means because
you're not doing it now. You're not talking to us the way you talk to him.
We played her interview yesterday. She interviewed comic actor Rodney Perry.
Who?
Rodney Perry. From Johnson Family Vacation and some other films.
All right, let me ask you. You're correcting me, Fez. Did you know the guy?
No, had no clue whatsoever.
No further questions.
He played Cousin Lumpy.
And as the interview progressed, I mean, right from the start and all throughout this interview, Crazy Jen was trying to kick the malingo. And she was talking as street as she possibly could.
Do we have any of those drops, Earl?
I mean, we have the full thing. But we don't have
it's way too much because it's 13 minutes. But, Jen, the thing actually ended with you saying you were going to give him a spare rib.
I eat spare ribs. I eat buffalo ribs.
But you don't bring it up to us. You don't bring up government cheese to me and Fez.
Ronnie, let me ask you something.
You don't talk about being a back-to-school girl around, or an old school girl around us.
Yeah, I did, because remember when, long time ago last year, when I asked for my birthday, Slurpees and chicken wings, does that mean I'm black? That don't have nothing to do with
Why bring that up? What is your... Crazy Jen, this is our problem with you. We cannot... You're always asking to do something with the show. And every time you do, you're furious and you quit and never want to talk to us again. That's the problem.
And it's happened one more time.
And then how many times have you asked me to come to New York?
Who, me?
Yes.
I want to come. I want to be.
But here's the thing. You would quit the first day. And I'm going to tell you something. If you worked for us, and let's say Dave left me the emails that you left me yesterday, I would have his card right now. He would be gone.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, why is it that you hired Dave? And because he's got a stupid puppet, he can't crack no jokes.
Nobody hired a comedian. He was hired by Don Wicklund from XM because of his producing experience.
And I understand that, but I don't understand that if everybody's looking for some good entertainment, hello, here I am.
Nobody's.
Oh.
They have never said that. They have never said to us, we're looking for some extra entertainment on the Ron and Fez show. We're trying to add some people. Roberto just happened to be a big plus for us, and it's something we never expected to have that kind of talent.
He's what we call in the business gravy.
Well,
I'm starving. We getting gravy?
Just ran out.
I just don't understand. Earl, and why don't you do a better interview than me? Okay, I can sit here and talk to you and talk like a white person.
All right, Jen.
Do I get offended?
Jen, we're not looking for anyone to do interviews for us.
Yeah, but I want to.
I know you want to, but when we played your interview, you became furious.
Marley Matlin could have done a more coherent interview than you did with Rodney Perry.
Let me tell you something, though, Fezzy. That man, he had me in his car with his 5 children on speakerphone and all these little children. Hey, Jen, hey, Jen.
Why weren't you happy with the fact that we played 13 minutes, we plugged the website, we gave you all that, Jen?
I was happy with that. I don't like...
Then why is Ronnie getting furious emails?
Because if I read the email right now, Fez would hang up the phone, and I'm not even going to do it. I'm just going to drop it for old time's sake.
Now I want to see him.
Now, why do you act like you're jealous of Earl and Dave? What do Earl and Dave have to do with your crazy stuff that you're doing?
Because I don't understand. Ronnie, I'm sitting here, and I'm well, first of all, I wasn't pissed off at you at all. I was pissed off at Earl, because every time, and I hate when people do this, they got to take out the race card. And Earl pulled out that race card, and that gets me fired up more than anything.
You pulled out a whole deck. Listen to this line that Earl's got.
What's that?
All right, hold on.
And anytime you need a nanny, I'm going to do it for some spare ribs. That's it. Because I know you can cook.
All right.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Now, that is not the way that you're talking to us, Jen.
But can I tell you something?
Yeah.
Because that man asked me, he said, when am I going to meet you? And I said, can I stay at your house? And he said, no. And I said, oh, I guess he wasn't going to pay me then, so I figured maybe he has some spare ribs. He's got little kids. So I could have said McDonald's just as easily.
Yes, you absolutely could have, and yet you didn't.
Not all black people eat spare ribs, Fezzy.
Why bring it up to them, though? That's the thing. All right, hold on, Jen. We have to talk to somebody now. Can you hold on for a little while?
Yeah.
We got somebody that's rescheduled to do the show.
Guy Fieri is standing by. He was the winner of the Next Food Network star. He's also the co-owner of the restaurant Johnny Garlic's in Windsor, California.
Now, Fez, did you watch us on Food Network?
I watched him win the finale.
Yeah. Did you go crazy for him?
I was very excited for Guy Fieri.
Now, when they started this, I was a big Guy fan right from the word go. I mean, first episode, I called my brother. I said, I got $2,000 on the kid with the blonde hair. I was calling him the surfer kid at first because I thought he had the chops right from the word go. Some of those people I ended up liking over the course of it, but at no point did I ever feel like Guy was in trouble. Okay, now he's got his own show, right?
Yeah, he's going to get his own show that I believe is going to start in June on the Food Network.
All right, we got Guy on the air right now. Guy, welcome to the Ron and Fez show. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Congratulations, man.
Way to go, Guy.
Now, we have to talk on the radio all day, so we know what that's like. But to be able to talk and cook is more difficult than most people think, right?
It's way more difficult. And I mean, cooking in itself is hard. And people think it looks easy to stand in front of TV and just talk, or do radio talk. No, you got to be sharp. You got to be on it. You can't erase. You just did it. You better be real secure with what you just said.
Oh yeah, in that thing they shoot as if it's a live show, right? They don't go back and correct anything for you.
Absolutely. No, we shoot as a live show. They call it live to tape. And no, Food Network was not only seeing how good we are, but was also setting us up and educating us for our future appearances, which actually really has come in quite handy recently.
Now, so the food was being judged all the way along the road, right?
Correct. The food was being judged from all different perspectives, what type of menu it was, how difficult the recipes were, utilization of different styles of products, knife techniques, just every aspect that had to do with food. A lot of things going on behind the scenes that people really didn't get a chance to see on the show because of the way things get edited.
Right.
But no, it was fully encompassing from, people have asked me, are you a better chef or a better presenter? And I said it just depended on the task at hand.
Now, and, you got a guy like Bobby Flay tasting your food, who you want to go, it's almost like if a guy wants to write a song that he's got, the Foo Fighters sitting there going, I don't know about the, middle eight. It had to be somewhat intimidating, right?
It was intimidating, encouraging. I mean, it was all the ings. There was so much going on. There's so much emotion taking place. But the great thing was Bobby, Bob Tushman, Mark Summers, everybody that was involved in the process, although they had to be critical of us and although they had to give us real, poignant statements, they're very encouraging. It was the American Idol of food. That's the best way I could probably describe it. So what people are seeing and all those things going on, that's just add food to it.
All right, now, how has your life changed since you won this?
Well, that's a 4-hour conversation.
Yeah.
It's really been amazing. I own restaurants out here in California. The restaurants have definitely seen an increase, and we're having people traveling from. We had a lady that traveled from Georgia. Now, I don't know if that was exactly what happened, but she said she made Sonoma County her destination because she wanted to come to all my different restaurants. So that's changed. My work schedule's definitely changed. I spend probably the beginning part of my day doing TV, radio interviews, and that's a lot of fun. And then in the meantime, I'm writing all my recipes and getting prepared to go out and start shooting my show next week out in New York. So it's changed, but it's been an incredible ride. I'm a very fortunate, very blessed person, and man, to meet all these fans and to do these, the signatures, it's crazy.
Now, when people come to your restaurants that you've had for a few years, they expect to meet you now, right?
Well, they do and they don't. My staff's been kind of used to this just from the beginning. I do a lot of philanthropy here in our area, and I've got quite a few. I sit on different boards, and so I'm out not in the restaurant as often as people would like to see. But my team knows how to handle it, and they're very empowered to take care of guests. And we've got about 15 managers in our company, so they're filling in for me when possible. But no, it's nice to get back into the restaurants and see people and tell them the experience, and I take it for granted that a lot of people understand what happened, and now people really want to know what was it like to meet Bobby Flay. So it's just an experience that I'm trying to make sure I'm in the restaurants and share it with the guests as often as possible.
We're talking with Guy Fieri. He is the winner of the next Food Network star. He's starting to shoot his new TV show. What are you going to call this show, Guy?
You know what? The name has not been released yet. I was trying to call it Off the Hook. That's what I called it when I actually did my pilot on the show. But it's a real neat name. I think it'll pretty much describe in a couple short words just the intensity and the uniqueness of what I'm going to do.
Go with Sassy.
No, that's Reggie's.
That's right. Yeah, sorry.
Hopefully he'll get a show someday, and I think Sassy will probably be in it. But the show's going to air June 25th at 10 a.m. on Sundays, and I get 6 episodes to hopefully start my long career of food television. And it's going to be interesting because it's going to be an eclectic show. I'm into the history of the food item I might be working with. I'm into the uniqueness of how it can be diversified in different ethnicities. Can we cook this in Chinese? Can we cook this in Italian? Can we cook it in Mexican? And hopefully what I'll be able to do is show some of those different examples in the course of one show. So I think people should be ready. I think it'll definitely change the way they spend 10 a.m. on Sundays. I know that'll happen.
Now, when you were a kid, were you into cooking, or at what age did it take for you?
I got into cooking right when I was about 9, and it was kind of out of a challenge or a statement from my mom. I think I had complained one too many times that I didn't want to have steamed rice and steamed fish. We lived up in Northern California, so we had a lot of salmon. And my mom looked at me and she says, "You know what? If you don't like it, then you go ahead and cook." And living in this little town I did, we could go to the grocery store and just sign the tag for the groceries. So I went and got a couple steaks and some pasta, and I remember particularly that it was ragu spaghetti sauce, and I made dinner for my parents and my sister, and I remember the look on my parents' face. You know, they own their own business, they worked every day, and when they came home and dinner was done, I think that's when it got me. I think that's when I got bit by the food, by the food idea, and when that was it, and just started from there.
So because of the fact that you were getting the kind of feedback that you like, and
I love making people happy. Yeah. I'm Italian, being Italian and being interested in food. I lived in Europe. That was another kicker. I lived in France as an exchange student, and to see the French culture, so much of it was based around food. I mean, before I was allowed to have breakfast, I had to go down and stand in line at the bakery to buy this particular French baguette. And if you missed getting the baguette, you might as well not come home.
Is that right?
So when I had those kind of influences in my life, and then I found out how many doors food opens. I mean, everybody wants to own a restaurant. Everybody wants to have some connection. Look at all the stars that are going out and getting into the restaurant business. So I've just had a blessed opportunity, and then to own my own company, this is just kind of like the icing on the top. It's amazing.
Do you think that Americans are going to start to get into a little more of that European attitude about taking our time with our meals? I mean, it does seem like a lot of the fast food businesses that we grew up with are on hard times now, and people are starting to look for local-made restaurants, local stuff.
That's probably the greatest question out of all these interviews I've done. You just hit it right there. That's probably my keynote topic that I'm trying to talk about with food, and that's what I'm so excited about with Food Network. I hope it's going to change. I hope we're going to get back to the basics. Back in the end of the 50s, beginning of the 60s, when we started going to dual family incomes, we started changing our idea about food. It wasn't necessarily about the food, about the quality of the food. It was about getting the food on the table, bigger, faster, quicker. That was the attitude. And hopefully what we're going to realize is that we don't have to cut out these food items like carbohydrates. We just need to eat sensibly. And it's the way we're cooking the food. It's the volumes of food that we're cooking. It's diversifying our portfolio of menu. Learning how to do these other cultures of food, I think, is going to open so many more doors. And you know what I hope, because I'll tell you something, America, your restaurant that you go to should not have more microwaves than it has saute burners. I mean, we're killing food when we're putting it in there. So, not that a microwave can't be used, but no, I really hope that we start to get back to our culture, our roots of where great food comes from. And I think Food Network is actually leading the way on that.
Guy, I smell a hit, buddy. I'm going to be watching. Congratulations, too.
You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. And anytime you want to talk food, need a recipe, you're stuck at the barbecue, you feel free to ring me.
All right, will do. Take care.
All right, guys. Bye.
That's it.
Thanks, Guy. Guy Fieri, winner of the next Food Network star. If you want to get more information about his upcoming show starting in June on Sundays on Food Network, you can go to foodnetwork.com, or to find out more about his restaurants, go to johnnygarlics.com.
I like that guy. I mean, fucking starving, too. I just wish somebody around here could cook.
I know. I was so stuffed last night after last night's great meal.
Yeah.
While we were out, and I'm thinking, now all of a sudden I could go right back again.
I know that when you start to get into it. And how long did we sit there last night, Earl? 2.5, 3 hours?
Yeah, I got there. I was there for an hour.
It was 3 hours easy. It was 3+.
Yeah, and we ate really simple foods. Your mom wasn't a big cook, was she, Fez, because the working hours?
Yeah, exactly. She had things that she knew how to cook, and we got those on a rotating basis.
Yeah. My mom, simple recipes, but always done perfectly. The food that I grew up on was not unlike the food that we ate last night, where my mom always used to cook whatever was in season. She was a real seasonal cooker. Still is a great cook. But the weird thing is, people wouldn't even know this about me, dinner was fairly formal at my house. Like, we had to be there at 5 o'clock. Like, my dad would get home. It was almost like that deal of, like, when I'm home, then everyone sits down. But if I was out playing and going, fucking, I'm not coming home yet, the dinner didn't start. If I came home at 5:25, everybody was sitting at the table.
Oh, man.
For 25 minutes. My dad wouldn't let the meal get served. So food was a little more important around my house.
We were catch as catch can. And, you knew on Thursday you were getting spaghetti or something like that. It was a meatloaf on Monday.
This is not weird, the way you say that you like a schedule?
Oh, yeah, totally. We never got anything out of the ordinary unless my dad was cooking dinner. That was the only time we get something what you would even call a little fancier, like a fish or something like that.
Sure, fancy fish. What could be fancier than a fish?
Tuna fish.
All right, Crazy Jen.
Hey, it's me. Hey, listen, Ronnie. I had some thoughts while you had that guy on the phone, right?
You want to do a cooking segment, right?
And call yourself Guy Fieri.
Right. Because whenever you just hear, Jen, that's what you try to do. You never wanted to do interviews till you heard us doing a bunch of interviews. Then you never wanted a puppet till you heard Roberto.
Oh, Ronnie, I had that fucking puppet for a long time.
The what?
It's a plastic puppet, too.
She just said fucking
Ronnie,
puppet.
But you never brought a puppet on the show in all the years we've known you.
Ronnie, I was thinking about bringing my puppet up there, too, but then I had others. Ronnie, I have plans in my head, Ronnie. I have so many ideas and plans and funny stuff in my head that it's hard to keep up with myself.
Look, I thought your bit yesterday was funny. We ran it, we laughed, we cringed, we had a great time. Then I get all these angry emails from you saying that you're going to mail back your XM radio, and you can't expect us to go, yeah, she can take a joke. She can run with a bit. Let's have her on again.
We're waiting for you to interview Paul Rodriguez so you can bring up refried beans.
Hey, Paul, look who it is, Crazy Jen.
Oh
Remember back in the day in the barrio?
What, you in the lowrider with your 12 kids?
And the little dog whose head keeps going up and down?
But that's not why I said that about that XM radio, because I was thinking, well, if Earl thinks I'm such a racist that I don't like black people, maybe he thought that I forgot he was black.
I don't get the point. You didn't send this email to Earl. You sent it to me saying, thank you for everything. Goodbye. We can't be friends anymore. I'm sending back my radio.
Oh,
And
Ronnie, why do you say that? Ronnie, I did not say we can't be friends no more. I said I love you, Ronnie. I love you to the ends of the earth, and Fezzy too.
But you're mailing back the radio.
But it don't have nothing to do with the radio. I said I was going to go out and buy my own radio, and Ronnie, that why you say that like that?
Because that's the way I took it, Jen. And I'll tell you something else. All right, if we're going to shoot here, you keep asking me about doing the show, right? What do I always tell you? Just keep working on it. You're not going to get good in 5 shows that you're doing. You're not going to get good in 10. You're going to get good maybe at a couple of 100 or 1,000.
So Ronnie, can I just tell you though? And I know you're not one to pity somebody, but every single day I work on that show, and I've been doing interview after interview. I interviewed some guy who's getting out of independent movie in a couple months. Skeletor, the unemployed Skeletor. I did that last night.
I'm sure it's hysterical.
It is really good.
Did you think that you were a skeleton?
No, man, it's Skeletor.
Only if we hired a skeleton here. Then she would want to be one.
Maybe Earl will think I'm a racist, but I interviewed a black vampire. Yeah, some black person sucks the
And
blood.
I think all that's great. And you got a show on the internet. It's great.
You suck the blood out of them there chitlins. You're
with Paranoid. He does a great show. You're with Giant Brian. He does a great show.
Yeah, and they do. Ronnie.
This is great.
My goal is, and I've been doing this, and I want to work for you. I want to prove myself. I want to catch
Jen,
somebody's eye and say,
Jen,
you know what?
When you say somebody's eye, I will give you the names and have given you the names of the people who hire. It's not me and Fez.
I know, but aren't they listening?
And they're not looking for interviewers.
But they're looking for somebody who's funny.
No, they're looking for people with production experience that will put the shows on when they're supposed to be on and make sure everything runs properly.
You know,
right, now I'm going to go out on a limb, right? I'm going to go out on a big limb, and I know somebody on your channel right now who was just funny, ain't got no kind of production experience, and got a show on VH1 too. And he ain't even that funny. He's little.
Well, all right, I will tell you this. That's not my show, okay? That's Opie. All right, hold on. That's Opie and Anthony's show. They brought him in. He is an experienced comic who's on fucking television, and that is pretty impressive, all right? He's got a television show. He went through XM, and they gave him, now what is he going to be doing, a weekend show?
Yeah.
A weekend show. So you get your TV show, and if you get a TV show on VH1, and I'll guarantee you that they'll give you a radio show.
And Jen, this is a craft. You got to keep working at it.
Are you listening to this? Excuse me. In June, right? I am going to be on the people who didn't make it for Hell's Kitchen in the beginning. And when them people see that, whoever them people are, maybe they let me come work for you.
Maybe they will, but why are you angry with me and Fez or even Earl and Dave? Can I tell you something? Dave wanted to join the show when Harry did, right? Yeah. I gave Dave the same information I gave you. And other people that we know. I say, here are the people to contact. Here's the people to talk to.
I'm angry at you and Fez.
Fez and I also have a very small staff. Very small staff.
Well, I don't eat much.
That's not what I'm talking about. That's not what I'm talking about, Jen.
You're not going to live here.
You honestly never listen to me.
I do listen to you, Ronnie. The thing is, though, you don't understand how frustrating it is that I love your show more than anybody, and I'll put money on it. I'll put $20 million on it. Or I'll walk down...
All right, can I tell you something? I love U2. The band U2. I've always enjoyed them. But at no point do I show up with an accordion thinking I should get on stage with them and say, Bono, you don't understand.
I'll tell you...
I'm not an asshole like Larry. I love you. Let me be up here.
Can you do Angel of Harlem?
I'll tell you what, though. I bet you...
But I have a puppet.
You can get in, you too, if Bono noticed you.
But here's what you don't understand. Fez and I have always let you on the show. When you come in, you always get a mic. What is it that you want?
I love you and Fezzy.
What?
I love you and Fezzy from the bottom of my heart. I didn't have no deals with you and Fezzy. I love you. I love your show. I was going to send the XM thing back and buy my own for my pride. That Earl.
Okay, do that. Show Earl a lesson. That'll teach him a lesson.
See? Cause I don't understand. I mean, if Earl, why Earl gonna be funny, and then he could talk shit about me. Why Dave gonna be funny, or his puppet's funnier than he is.
Well, I'm gonna let you in on a trick. He runs the puppet, Jen.
Well, that puppet got mind of his fucking own then, cause none of that shit comes out of Dave's mouth.
Jen, you don't understand.
You haven't
this
listened at all. You haven't listened at all.
Before Dave got hired here at XM with the Ron and Fez show, he went out and worked 3 or 4 different radio jobs to get the experience he needed to impress Wiki to get hired here. And Earl's worked over half his life in radio.
And I understand, but you know what the thing is though? It don't make it's frustrating, man. Cause I'm out there like I live in the middle of Bumblefuck. Ain't no comedy clubs around here.
It ain't Bumble.
Yeah.
All right, Jen. Here's what I want you to understand one last time.
But
Earl does not get paid to be funny. Dave does not get paid to be funny. They want to jump on the air. Okay, she doesn't listen.
You won't listen to Ron.
They are paid for stuff that they do off the air. Stuff, Jen, that I'm afraid that you don't have the experience in right now. Now, in the time that we've known you, we only knew Dave for like a year before. Dave used to listen to our show. He showed up at a Bar 9 one night and said, "Oh, Mr. B, the mayor of Bennington," acted like a nut and said, "I love your show. You've changed my life. I want to work in radio." Then he went out. He got jobs in college radio. Then he went to weekend radio. Then he got hired by Westwood One. He had a job offer with Sirius when there was an opening here. So if he didn't take the job with us, he was going to keep on working with radio.
Right. And can I just tell you something?
Yes.
Difference between me and Dave is I don't want to work in radio. I don't care if you're on AM, FM, XM, wherever you are. I want to work for you.
All right.
Do you
I get
understand?
that. Yes.
If you really wanted to do that, we would get stuff from you on a regular, consistent basis to prove yourself to Wiki that you would be a good part of this show, and we would never get these things of, oh, I was on the air, I got pissed, cried, sent in my MiFi, and we didn't see you again for 6 weeks.
Here's what you need. Go ahead, Jen.
But the thing is, though, that's what I'm doing now. Like, I'm working my ass off to prove it. I mean, I'm on there and, like, emailing people, can you please let me interview you? And they're like, yeah. And I'm trying to get, an entertaining kind of show together.
All right.
Like a fake show. But
right.
It's to prove myself, so maybe somebody will turn.
All right, why don't you plug where your show is at?
My show is on www.thecosmiccircus.com.
Okay.
It's called Almost Live from the Trailer. I just bought myself a trailer for $60,000 in West Virginia, and that's where I do my show.
But you don't, Jen.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
That's not real.
I do it for my apartment.
Right.
But
In Frederick, Maryland.
And you've never lived in a trailer in your life?
No, but I seen them, and I was thinking about living in one. All right, I do it for my apartment, but it's almost live. It's almost live, and it's my apartment's kind of like a trailer.
Here's what you need, Jen. You need a mentor. I obviously am not that person. I get too frustrated with you. Your mentor is going to be Fez Whatley.
What?
It's Fez2000 at AOL.com. I want you to send him a link to your show.
No.
And he will give you advice now. All right?
All right. I can send him the MP3 straight there.
You can send him the MP3s. You can ask him questions. He is going to mentor you now.
And answer me back?
Yeah.
I'm going to mail my computer back to XM now.
No, Fez, you know what you're going to do? You're going to take this as a challenge. That, like in the Big Brother program, you can be a big brother. Wouldn't you like to be a big brother for someone like me?
Not to a retarded little sister, I wouldn't.
Please?
Think about the tears in your eyes when we finally make it, my brother, together. And I get on your show and I can, I know.
Perfect.
I swear.
There you go. You've got the mentor to me. I say one of the finest comic minds working in radio today, Fez Whatley. Like you, he's a fake character. Like you, he's a mess. He's a ball of weirdness. You have got, I'm going to go so far, Jen, as to say the father figure you've been looking for your whole life.
He could be my daddy.
Yes. Yeah. And this time,
cut my dick off.
And this time, Jen, it will be a daddy that doesn't molest. A different kind of daddy.
That's for sure.
A daddy without wet fingers. A daddy who you can count on. Okay?
No, this is awesome. I'm gonna mail my Skeletor interview.
Everything. If you need to spend a weekend with him, 24 hours, I'm going to give you a beeper. That if she needs you, if she has any comedic questions, you're going to be there for her.
What a nightmare. I've already prepared my first email response.
Yeah.
Not ready yet. Cut and paste. Not ready yet. Cut and paste. Not ready yet.
All right, Jen. So you go get a notebook and start writing questions in it for your mentor. Okay?
Yeah, I got a lot because I want to know all about the radio and how to
Great.
see.
All right.
Yeah, I'll tell you how to build one, you idiot.
Go running off. Go running off all happy. All right?
I'm going to Best Buy, Walmart.
There you go. Off you go.
There she is, Laura Ingalls, running down the hill.
Run through your excitement.
Run into traffic.
Bye-bye.
And Fez, one more thing. My family lives in Trenton, so it's only going to take me an hour to get up there to visit you, buddy. You live somewhere by the water.
All right, bye-bye. This is great. Bye. This is great.
There she goes.
Get her to send back that radio.
I want that radio back.
Fez, another reply you can put. We always used to do this with bands. It's like, hey, can you hear my song? A nice diplomatic way of saying it goes, the bit needs work.
What she is going
needs
to do,
work.
Yeah, Earl, is listen to this, think that you're against her, and be all angry again.
And we're going to get that MiFi back in pieces.
Fezzy, I'm going to tell you, and this is a total shoot between me and you. Thank you, because I need her to not stop emailing me for a while and to stop bringing up this anti-Dave tirade that she goes on. And, like, part of the thing when she was angry, She was talking about Dave going out to eat with us, and that made her furious. That should be her going to the diner with us. Dave, would you ever think that you would find yourself in a position where somebody would be jealous of you?
No, that should never happen.
Look who's not the weak link in the food chain anymore.
I feel pretty good now. Boy, I'm ready to. I'm skipping on air today.
Yeah, when you're on your way after the show to go out and get eye drops, you're going to feel good about yourself.
I have a real condition.
What is it? Dry eyes?
No, people in my family usually get glaucoma a lot.
So something wrong with the eyes in your family.
Yeah, we got
his last name is Puckett.
Here's what I can't understand.
Yeah.
You've got two eyes on one side of your face like a flounder. How did that... Is that because you lay on the bottom of the ocean floor? Maybe that's your problem. What you want to do is a little more symmetrical.
I will take this project on for you, Ronnie, because you are my best friend, you're my brother. And
oh, God, I feel like I'm talking to Jen again.
And she is like the Alzheimer's aunt that we really have to take turns taking care of.
I'm telling you, I was literally furious when I read those emails when I got home. I'm like, I don't care if I ever talk to her again. And I feel like I've treated this girl with nothing but respect in terms of letting her come on the show and have fun.
Well, she's mad at me, and I got her the Wi-Fi.
She's mad at you because she doesn't know how to actually say, Ron and Fez, I hate you, which is basically what she's saying. So she hates her own Dave.
That's what she really, really wanted to say. She just couldn't put it out.
Here's Jim. Jim, you're on Ron and Fez. How are you, buddy?
Hi, I'm kind of a boring guy, and I'm not real funny, but I wondered, could you give me a job on the show?
I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to give you a mentor, and that's better than a job. Fez2000 at AOL.com. He's one of the finest comedy minds working in radio today.
You'll be spending a weekend with me at Not Funny and Boring and Unentertaining Boot Camp, where I will put you people through all the paces.
The balls of this girl to compare herself with Patrice.
Yeah, just insane. Why him, not me?
He's got a TV show. You maniac.
And then what I was trying to get through that thick red skull of hers was that it's a craft. You have to keep working at it. And those guys, you know... like
Patrice has probably done comedy for 15 years.
Yeah, but like, Norton still does hits. I mean, and Norton's... pretty well known. He still does hits at, the Comedy Cellar. He's working it every single night. It's a craft you have to constantly keep working on.
Anyone she brought up, whether it was Patrice or Earl or Dave or anyone, has 3 times the experience she has.
Well, first of all, Dave has 3 times the experience. But what is more experience than nothing, actually, when you really think about it? You can't come up with a number times 0. That's the problem that we're having right now.
I'm in the opening credits of Hell's Kitchen.
I am looking forward to that.
I gotta see this one.
And that's when you were in the hospital. This was such a fucking nightmare day for me. So, I had been seeing Fez in the hospital every day, right? But it was checkout day, so my chick was going to go with Fez and, help him with his paperwork, get him out of the hospital. And it's easier to have her there than me, a guy who's going, I don't know, sign it. You know what I mean? It would be better for him to have somebody for, wife for a day, for Fezzy. What I didn't know, and I'm like, well, God, that's great. I'm saying to my chick, that's great, you're going to do that. What I didn't know is that my chick had already promised Crazy Jen, I will meet you in Manhattan and get you to this address to try to be on Hell's Kitchen. That became my job. So I meet her and her husband, Pickles. Now, here's the other thing that was driving me crazy, Fez. This is during a football Sunday. I'm supposed to be at Hooters. I was supposed to be hanging out with El Jefe and Dubs, the hideout guys.
Right.
I can't do that because I'm literally taking this idiot all the way uptown for a video shoot. And then here's the weird thing. It's in someone's apartment.
Oh,
it's
God.
not at a studio. So I'm up around 96th Street, some apartment with Crazy Jen screaming into a camera. It was insane. Then I had to get her back to Penn Station and on a train. What a fucking nightmare.
God, that's just awful. And knowing it's like no person in their right mind is going to put her on a national TV show.
So I got her in a cab with her husband Pickles. We're going from 96th Street. I go, I'm going to take you to Penn Station. I've got to stop at Hooters and meet up with the Hideout guys because I'm 2.5 hours late. They're like, okay. She's so excited. She rolls down the window of the cab, sticks her head out. She's so excited about her Hell's Kitchen. She yells like she's in a bad movie. Okay, New York, remember this face. You're going to see me on Hell's Kitchen. I'm sitting there in a fucking cab, never feeling so far from hip as I do this day.
New York will forget the face of 9/11 before the face of Crazy Jen.
But, I mean, what kind of stupid fame scene is that? Where, you know, you're going to remember me, New York. Stop the Judy Garland act, you idiot. You tried out to cook on a reality show, and you can't cook. So at that point, we finally head over to the Hooters. As we're walking up, me, her, and Pickles, there was some big sign because the movie Rent was coming out. She sees it. She turns around to me, and I'm not kidding. She's not making this up. Her eyes are, of course, you know, the pupils are pinholes. She screams at me, "Oh, my God, you didn't." I said, "Didn't what?" "You're taking me to Rent. This is my special day." She starts jumping up and down screaming, thinking that this is some surprise I've put together. I'm taking her to Rent. I'm like this. Obviously, I'm not taking you to Rent because I didn't even know I was going to be with you. You're not. That's just the sign. Stop jumping up and down. This is not your special day.
She's clamoring at a billboard.
I had to go tell the Hideout guys, I just stopped by to say I can't be with you. I walked her down the Penn Station, shoved her and her husband both, down an escalator.
Should have been on the tracks.
All I heard was, "I miss you so much." Like some mongrel dog, no amount of bad behavior towards her can stop her from her enthusiasm.
You know, one thing I don't understand about her is you listen to her and she tells you about how she grew up and everything and how she had nothing. Just absolutely got nothing throughout her life. But now, for some reason, feels entitled to everything. So where do you make the jump from we didn't have clothes to wear, we didn't have food to eat, to you're taking me to a Broadway show and giving me a job in radio?
I'm going to tell you where she gets it from, Fez. This goddamn machine, this media machine of People Magazine, In Touch, Look Magazine, Extra TV, all that stuff that makes anything look glamorous that isn't your own life. So instead of thinking about your own life, you think, if I could be anyone else, I'll be happy. If I can go on a reality show, eat a bug, somehow it'll make me a wonderful person. I don't get it. I don't understand it. But there it is. And this is your mentorship, Fezzy.
That's the mentality. I don't have talent to do anything else. If I can get screamed at on a reality show, that'll be my launch pad to stardom.
Hey, Jerry, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, Ronnie, I'm a married man who's questioning his sexuality, and I'd love to work in radio. Do you guys have a job for me there?
I'm going to give you an email address of a mentor who I think that would be perfect for you. It's Fez, that's 1Z, F-E-Z, 2000 at AOL.com. That's his personal address. He's going to be perfect for you.
It will take time to reply.
Because you're going to be working with Jen. So right now, Team Watley has added a new member. It's Eastside Dave and Jen.
Can I have someone that's not redheaded and spastic? Why do I have Team Red?
What's wrong with you being Little Ireland? Why is that a problem?
It's just a nightmare. I'm going to get Kathy Griffith and Carrot Top next.
Is there anyone interesting that's redheaded?
No one.
Well, there's got to be a sane redheaded person. Oh, yeah, Danny Bonaducci.
Sorry.
Lindsay Lohan.
David Caruso.
God, you throw up David Caruso and Bill Walton so much, it's frightening. It's unbelievable how much you bring up those two names. It must be awful being you. Seriously.
He wants to name his kid Bill Caruso.
What do you got? We don't have a lot of heroes, Ronnie. That's Mr. Caruso's one of them, though.
I don't know how you keep the knife out of your neck. I don't know how every time that you see something sharp, you don't think, wait, if I shove this into my jugular, I could end this all.
It's difficult. Mr. Stoltz, maybe?
Stop. Just go away. Go away, Roberto. We got to take our first break of the day. I know we don't like to break it all. I know we think of ourselves as HBO, but occasionally we do need to do a small break. We'll be right back. Ron and Fez. Yeah, it's Ron and Fez show. What's this stuff, Earl?
This is Dave Grusin. This is the end of Ocean's 12.
I was gonna say it sounds like some mod beach party. Very 60s mod sound.
This is great. I like this.
Like the Brady Six should be singing along with it. Hey, our pal Ice Cream Girl, she checked in with us. She's working over at Tiffany's Diner and Restaurant now on Route 17 South in Ramsey, New Jersey. She wants people to stop by and say hello to her.
Oh.
Stop in to Tiffany's Diner and say hi, Ice Cream Girl.
Al Dukes will be there immediately.
Yes, Tuesday is family night there.
Remember Al Dukes and his Ice Cream Girl thing? Oh, he had a thing for Ice Cream Girl. Now somebody else does. What is it, Dave? What are you laughing and pointing at?
Oh, no, I was just, So I know someone else I think might have a thing
What
for
are
Ice
you
Cream
pointing
Girl.
for? This is the radio.
No, I was just motioning over that possibly Earl Douglas has a little thing.
We've been friends for 5 years.
It's Ice Cream Girl this, Ice Cream Girl that.
Where?
What are you spreading rumors, Dave?
I see him on the IMs a lot.
Look at this little gossip column.
Is Ice Cream Girl going to be at Kravis?
She's going to try to come down.
Oh.
Yes. I know FMe's going to be there.
Keisha's coming down.
Nice. Haven't seen Keisha forever.
So you're lining up a lot of the chicks.
Too Cute supposed to show. Solaire's definite. Tits McGee's definite.
Frenchie's supposed to come?
We're working on Frenchie and Swiss Miss. And I watched The Sopranos again just for Swiss Miss.
Don't batch to our friend. To me, that's incredibly rude. It's incredibly rude to batch to your friends. I told Fez that time and time again.
Just a little one.
Yeah. The Hawk is going to be there.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Fez, I know you're excited. Rory
Hamptons is going to be there.
Would you say Earl is to Ice Cream Girl as Fez is to Rory?
Am I being asked this question?
Yes.
Friends for 5 years? Yes.
Well, you and Earl get the same look when we bring it up. Like, I don't know how this started. It's very Billy the Phone Freak you guys get. So what are you wearing, Fez? Something nice, or are you just going to act like you don't care?
I don't know what I'm wearing yet. I still have some things to try on.
I know you're doing your hair differently.
It's all...
It's my same old hair, you.
It isn't.
You gotta find the temperature. If it's a little chilly, I strongly suggest that green plaid shirt that you have, that you wear to Notre Dame games sometimes.
The fact that you know that I have a green plaid button-down shirt drives me insane.
I've just noticed it a couple times in a very heterosexual way.
You wear it 3 times a week. How can you not know it?
Actually, I shouldn't even tell this. I should just try it again. Someone emailed me at fez2000@AOL.com.
That's the mentor line.
And reminded me that I still have a bet to do to see if I could wear the same outfit 2 days in a row and see if anyone notices it in here.
You know what? You could have told me that you did it last week, and you would have won the bet, because I do not notice clothes.
Can I just tell you this?
Yeah.
I wore the same outfit 3 weeks in a row, every single day, and not one of you bastards...
Tell me you're lying.
I swear to God, I am telling the truth.
Whoa.
And not one of you bastards noticed.
Wait, was it the purple shirt?
That's a good thing. That's something you should be happy about.
And finally, you know what happened? We went on vacation. And I'm like, well, no one will remember from vacation. So at vacation, I just gave it up.
This is like better than the ending of Usual Suspects.
All right, wait a minute. When did this happen?
When was our last? It might have been. No, it was leading up to Easter. It was the 3 weeks before Easter.
You are shitting me.
I wore the same thing every single day.
For 3 weeks?
Yes.
When were you going to tell us?
I was going to just try it again sometime.
So you still can. So your thing is, when I went, hey, I caught you, you wore that 2 days in a row, that's when you were going to yell, no, my friend, I've worn it 3 weeks in a row.
Exactly.
And we have such little abilities to see what's going on. We had no idea.
I want to check out some of Master Poe's security tapes.
What I would do is I would wear it. I would take it home. I would take it off immediately when I got home, because what it was a burgundy T-shirt.
Yeah.
And it was a brown corduroy overshirt, like button-down shirt. That had some burgundy in the trim.
Now, at different times were you saying, oh, they're on to me, I think Ron's looking?
At different times I thought, they have to know. They have to know this, and they're busting my balls, and Ron has sworn everybody to say, let's see how long the asshole will do this, and nobody say that we noticed.
I have to tell you, and all my years knowing you, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened.
Really
I cannot believe you wore the same clothes 3 weeks in a row and we didn't know.
I would take it off. As soon as I got home, I would take it off and hang it up on hangers.
Like it was a uniform.
Yeah, so I would wash. So Monday it was clean. Mm-hmm. I would wear it Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. Wash it again Wednesday night. Wear it Thursday and Friday. Wash it over the weekend and start again on Monday.
This is like, that's better than any fucking David Blaine trick I've ever seen in my entire life. I've never even...
Does it just show how stupid we are or how little we care? Pitts, do you think you're onto something?
No, but why did you stop wearing it if we never caught on to it?
Because we had like the long Easter break. And my thought was, well, now I'm tired of wearing this thing so many days in a row. And if we're taking a break, that kind of breaks the chain of people seeing me in it every day.
And look, you've eventually had to bring it up.
Oh, yeah.
And then I just said to you as a joke, why didn't you say you did it last week? I wouldn't know. But we had no idea whatsoever.
No.
And I thought it was so funny that someone emailed me with this, reminding me, hey, you still have to try to pull off this bet.
That is unbelievably great.
You have to try this again, though. Like, not obviously
I'll wear
this
the
and next
outfit
week.
tomorrow. Oh, no, on Monday I'll wear it.
But, like, in a couple weeks, you have to do it again. Has to be done.
No, you people never notice a thing.
And I'm telling you, the guy could come in with a bird on his head, and we're not the type of guys to understand. Now, here's the thing. Any woman who had the slightest bit of nipple out, we've all been fucking on top of it.
She's wearing the nipple shirt again.
Because when I picked out Julia Louis-Dreyfus like that, Wiki was going on, man, you got the best eye. I can't believe you saw her from across the room. I can tell you what any fucking chick is doing. A guy, it's just like you might as well be dead.
And I went to all this trouble of picking out just the right outfit to do this with. Because, like, if I had worn one of my loud tropical shirts, I figured, well, that would,
I doubt it. I bet you could have came in here with no shirt on for 2.5 weeks before someone went, well, hey, where's your shirt?
So I picked this brown shirt out, and I thought, all right, this is noticeable enough. I can do this.
That's hysterical.
That's unbelievable. That's one of the greatest things I've ever heard.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it.
Well, why didn't you pick something up? I can see me not doing it.
Now that I think about it, he's right. Brown is very camouflagey. So if you can pull that off,
you can't blame it on anything other than the fact that we're disgusting and we don't care. We don't care what other guys do.
Now I do have my public apology ready for this week. And not for wearing the same outfit 3 weeks in a row.
What's this for?
This is where, Ronnie, I do a public apology for someone in the news unwilling to apologize him or herself.
Okay.
And so today I'm apologizing for George W. Bush to the Florida Senate candidate, Katherine Harris.
Katherine Harris, who, let's face it, got the guy elected.
She was the Florida Secretary of State who gave the election to President Bush and gave Florida's electoral votes to him so he could be president in 2000. And now him and his brother have abandoned her in her quest to become a U.S. Senator.
3 weeks and we didn't even slightly notice.
3 weeks! A public apology on behalf of President George W. Bush to Katherine Harris of Florida by Fez Marie Watley. I, George W. Bush, hereby apologize to Katherine Harris for not supporting her campaign for the U.S. Senate. And right now, I'm sorrier than Patrick Kennedy's sponsor. But Katherine, the way this administration is thinking, there's no more room in the lifeboats. Right now, Rumsfeld is shoving past you like he was Billy Zane in Titanic. You've been a good soldier for the GOP, Katherine, but let's face some facts. No one is going to elect a senator that looks like she should be chasing Dalmatian puppies to make a coat out of their fur. It's not going to happen. I saw your campaign poster and thought Lily Munster was running. Between your Joker makeup and your gigantic tits that you're always shoving in someone's face, you scare people. Wait till they get a load of these. Katherine, you're polling at 33% in the campaign and you're running against an astronaut. Why not just try to get elected Pope while you're at it? Now, I appreciate what you did for me in the 2000 presidential election. Certifying the state of Florida for me and scrubbing the voter rolls of just about every black in the state. That was great. With you in charge, Bill Cosby and Clarence Thomas wouldn't have been able to vote in Florida. But sorry, a diabolical racist mind and a push-up bra will only get you so far in politics. Just ask Trent Lott. I'm also sorry my big dumb goofy brother Jeb said you can't possibly win. Between his daughter writing her own painkiller prescriptions, Jeb Jr. attacking women in a mall parking lot, and that loca in the cabeza wife of his, he's not one to talk about anyone about being a loser. Again, I apologize, Katherine Harris. We used you and we ditched you. I mean, even the Duke Lacrosse stripper got paid. And I know somewhere deep below those miles and miles of makeup, there's some tears. And somewhere under those massive titties, deep, deep below, there's a tiny little black heart that's broken. And I am sorry. Sincerely, George W. Bush, President.
Wow, there's your catty moments. Fezatorial. Catty Fezatorial.
That was not a catty moment or a Fezatorial. That was public apology.
For who?
For George W. Bush to Katherine Harris.
I'm trying to understand. Are you trying to say that George W. Bush is gay?
No, George W. Bush isn't gay.
Oh, then why were you doing that voice? It's him.
That was me.
We got a guest coming up in a little bit, Fezzy. He's done a new documentary, Giuliani Time. It's opening today in selected theaters. And tonight in New York at the Landmark Sunshine Cinema, there's a 7:20 screening that he'll be showing up. That's 143 East Houston Street. We're going to have him on in just a few moments. Giuliani Time. Fez, I watched this last night after we got home. I watched it from like... I don't know, I guess 12:30 to 3 o'clock. Pretty rough on old Rudy Giuliani.
Oh, okay.
It's pre-9/11 Rudy Giuliani, Fez. The pre-sainthood Rudy Giuliani. You remember that, Rudy, don't you, Fez, Earl?
Oh, very much so.
Yeah.
The no squeegees, the,
no art.
No art, no fun, no music.
And
no
workfare, which I've forgotten all about welfare being replaced by workfare.
Yeah, workfare. He hated David Dinkins with a passion.
Yeah.
He still won't show up for... when he was mayor, they built the new stadium, Arthur Ashe Stadium.
Right.
He refused to show up because that was David Dinkins' baby. Even though it was on time, under budget.
And Giuliani was the current mayor
when
it
opened. He was the current mayor, refused to show up.
I wasn't here at the time. What was Dinkins like as a mayor?
Dinkins he was a lot like Carter. He was a nice guy in a bad job.
Right.
Where you had to be he had to really be ruthless, and he wasn't. I wouldn't say he was ineffective, but he wasn't effective either. It was kind of somewhere in the middle.
Now,
a very good administrator.
Rudy has gone on to sainthood. Literally, he's as close as we come to a secular saint today. Mainly because, let's face it, he hasn't done any real public work since 9/11, so he hasn't let us down. He hasn't done something stupid in the time since then. So he's still holding all that love, all that thank you for 9/11 love, there are some people trying to bring Rudy into the draft him for 2008. You think he's got any chance at all, Fez?
I think the only chance I would give him is name recognition. But the problem is that would work in the general vote in November, but there's no way he can get past the Republicans to become the candidate.
I guarantee you that he could pull more Democrat votes his way than anybody else that the Republicans can put up. That he would take some of the Northeast. I honestly believe that. And maybe even some of the Western states. And I don't see him losing any of the Southern states. I can't imagine that.
I think there's just too much dirt on him, too. I think between being he's pro-choice, he's pro-gay marriage, he's been married more than once. I don't know how well that'll play in red states.
Yeah, you got a good point there. Well, we've got this gentleman ready to come in, Fez.
Kevin Keating's going to be coming in to tell us about his new documentary, Giuliani Time.
You want to do a quick break here and catch up, Earl, since I did the hour and a half?
Yeah, we should take a break.
You have an opportunity for a quick break?
Yes, we do.
All right, yeah. Well, let's do a quick break, and we'll bring him right in. It's the Ron and Fez Show.
Back with the Ron and Fez Show. Director Kevin Keating is in studio with us. His new film is Giuliani Time, his first solo feature documentary, and that's opening in selected theaters nationwide today. And also tonight at the Landmark Sunshine Cinema on Houston Street. Kevin will be there for the 7:20 screening.
Waiting for hard questions.
All right, Kevin, welcome to the show. This is the pre-9/11, Rudy, that you've done the documentary on. 9/11 only comes up really in the closing moments of your show, of your film. Have you heard back from the Giuliani camp or anything? Or
Well, I didn't hear anything. There have been some attempts by journalists to talk to Mayor Giuliani. I think they've gotten as far as Sonny Mandel, his press secretary, they basically rejected its importance and dismissed it out of hand as regurgitated old news. I think they're really wrong on that. The people they've put up to be opposite me on a couple of TV shows have been underwhelming in their response.
Now, you at the end of the film, is Rudy has kind of went off into sainthood for the way he handled 9/11. You show him in England and going around the world, and people. Well, he still has that goodwill after all these years. He has been out of public life, and there still is amount of capital that we would see if he could spend if he wanted to run for president. Is one of the reasons that you put it out there to maybe take down any step that he has to run for president, or is this a stark?
Well, let me question one of your assumptions. You say he still has that mountain of goodwill.
Yeah.
I question that. I think he may have an enormous amount of the conventional wisdom is his performance on 9/11 basically fixed him in the constellation as a stable leader. But among people of color, that is precisely the opposite. There is not a residual sense of goodwill because there was a huge, widespread feeling of the racial polarity. That was the consequence of 8 years of Rudy Giuliani was enormous. And 9/11 did not ameliorate that. 9/11 did not relieve that in the African-American community, in the Haitian community, and other communities of color. So the perception that he's widely revered for 9/11 is really not true.
Well, you don't need to run on the Republican ticket and pull the black vote. No one really has. I don't know what Bush did last time, but it was a very, very small percentage.
Under 20%.
Yeah, under 20%.
I think it was 9.
Yeah, I was going to say under 10. Yeah, it went down very, very far. So he really doesn't need that if he wants to run on the Republican side. Do you think there's any way that we could look at him coming back, or is he just too far away from the rest of the Republicans in the country?
Are you asking me, do I think that is Giuliani viable as a presidential candidate? I think so. I mean, there was a recent Quinnipiac poll said he's the most popular politician of all politicians in the country.
Right.
I think his name recognition is probably larger than anybody, maybe except Hillary. So I think, yes, you're right about generally across the country, there's a sense that Giuliani is certainly a contender, certainly up in the upper echelons of the few that are being mentioned. And I think he has a large pool of potential voters to draw on. But there are serious problems, and I think when many of the issues that are examined in the film will become problems for him when he becomes a national political figure, if he does decide to run. And I think it's clear that he's running. I think he's been waiting to run for a long time.
And you think he'll do it, huh? You think he'll go for it?
From what little I know about him, I mean, it's pretty clear that he's well, they tell stories of him practicing his first inaugural speech when he was 6. So he's been prepping for this for a long time.
Well, we're in a national show here, and I honestly think that Rudy, on a national level, has even a different reputation than he does here in the New York area. On a national level, people would say Rudy Giuliani, he cleaned up New York City, and he was the hero of 9/11.
Yeah, those are the two.
If you looked at it from your point of view and the point of view of your film, you're saying maybe he didn't clean up New York City. Maybe there's too much credit given to him.
I think a lot of things happened in the 90s, from the dot-com boom to the national economy. We came out of a severe recession. The economy improved enormously. The rising tide raised all ships. I think a lot of that happened in New York. I think there were a conjunction of lots of things that happened to contribute to this perceived cleaning up of New York, the miracle of crime reduction. There are many things that played into that. For instance, there were 2,000 to 3,000 heroin addicts, serious long-term adult junkies, who died of AIDS during that very same period. That has an impact on street-level crime, small-level crime.
Mm-hmm.
There were, there was the cohort of young African-American males that declined in number. Large number of reduction in those numbers. There were a number of factors that all played in. I think it was almost like a perfect storm in a way. For Mayor Giuliani, the economy, the receding of the crack epidemic had largely disappeared, which had an enormous effect. The sociologists, the criminologists, as we try to put forward coherently in the film, the answer is still out as to whether or not that reduction in crime, that miracle of the turnaround in New York, was largely the as a result of Mayor Giuliani's policies. There were a lot of things at work, and I think obviously the city has had the economy improved. There's been an enormous amount of construction. And concomitant with that, the amount of money you spend for rent essentially went up by 200% to 300% at the same time. Is that a good thing?
So you're saying that the point is that it became a richer area because of economics, but what would reduce the crack epidemic? How did that, let's all face it, we were here in the 80s at different times. Manhattan was a frightening place.
Well, I think that frightening, I lived here. I wasn't frightened.
I was a tourist here in that era, and I would come in, and like most tourists, I would come in mainly in the Midtown area, mainly in Times Square, and I had my chick with me, and we'd think, this is great, but it's also scary. People were selling crack on the street, crimes were going on in the street, the three-car Monte, hookers would physically grab at you. So if you were from the suburbs at all, it seemed a little bit like the gates of hell that you're entering.
I agree that perception has a lot to do with what your notions of crime and apparent street level crime are. Look, there were headlines in all the tabloids all the time screaming about crime. They largely disappeared, receded, along with the crack epidemic. I think it echoes and reverberates and in a way amplifies itself. You know how many squeegee guys they got rid of?
How many?
74. And there
seemed like more, though, right? It does seem like a hell of a lot more.
And I think that street-level crime is largely a sense of there are 3 or 4 knuckleheads that can make you feel like they're 30 or 40.
Right.
And I think that has a lot to do with it. And I think that, criminals are in a certain age group. When they get to be 35, 40, they start to slow down, they drop out, they go to jail, they die, and they disappear. So there's a very small, as I say, cohort of criminal age behavior folks. And, look, Times Square. Do you think that Rudy Giuliani did that?
What exactly happened then?
Well, Ed Koch started that way back when. The first Disney deal was signed years before Giuliani came near the mayor's office. He just happened to sign the deal with Eisner in Times Square and take the credit for it. The amount of capital that had to go into the concentrated area around Times Square, the theater district, to have what we have now is enormous. It's in the tens of billions of dollars. You think that the presence of prostitutes is going to inhibit bankers and the floating of huge long-term credit loans to capital improvements is affected by street level crime? Impossible. It has nothing to do with it. But it's something that the tabloids, that the people from out of town can see and be frightened by. I think you're right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that. And when it's absent, there's a sense that it's all been miraculously turned around. So I think it's a multifaceted reality where some people see one thing and others see another thing entirely.
But, in the American consciousness, we basically don't like answers as long as yours. We like a really quick soundbite answer. And our leaders are going to take credit or blame whoever happens to be in it today.
That's why a lot of people think Saddam Hussein has something to do with 9/11.
Right.
The dumbing down of our country. It's a horrible, it has long-term consequences. This awful war in Iraq is the result of that kind of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So a little critical thinking is what we need. We need to pay attention, read, discuss, have these kind of conversations.
Right. Because I had always heard Giuliani the whole time. Now, Fez, you had fallen out, and some of the documentary, you had fallen out of being a Giuliani fan for the same reason you'd stop being a Clinton fan. And I'm talking pre-9/11.
Right.
Because some of the stuff that probably is going to hurt him if he runs for president is the same stuff that would be following Bill Clinton around, and that is he enjoyed some extramarital attention in his life.
Well, you saw the film. Did you like him? What did you prefer? Him in drag as Marilyn Monroe?
Bizarre.
As Trump's mistress?
That was very bizarre.
Or The Lion King? Which did you like?
They both freaked me out. As a matter of fact, my kid walked in during that and just went, "What are you watching?" And my jaw was down, and I had no idea that stuff was out there. But yeah, that is going to float back out on him if he tries to get involved in
He likes to dress up.
Yeah, he does enjoy it quite a bit.
Kevin Keating is in the studio with us. He's the director of the new documentary Giuliani Time that's opening in selected theaters nationwide today.
866-RON-0-FEZ, 866-RON-0-FEZ. We are going to take some questions in a little bit.
Only in New York.
Oh, only in New York?
Only in New York. It's opening right now.
Okay, thank you.
And then we'll let you know as it's rolling out in a couple of weeks. And we'll even let you know where some of those theaters are out, because it is an interesting thing to see what the world was like 9/11. And some of that stuff I had completely forgotten about. I had completely left my head about the artist stuff that went down, where he was clearing out street art.
Arresting street artists, which is protected by the First Amendment of the Constitution. It's clear. It's been long established in law. And that's one of the things about Mayor Giuliani's time in office, which was the incredible array, the variety of constitutional issues that were violated time after time after time with a kind of impunity. That's why my sense of his going to higher office, I look at that with great trepidation, because I think that his history, his actual history in office here, if that's any indication of what's to come, we have some problems we have some worrying to do about our Constitution. If we think what's going on with Bush, the NSA spying and that kind of stuff now is scary, wait till someone who's, let's say, more sharply focused on the levers of power gets in office and knows how to use them a little bit more effectively.
Do you remember this Earl the Voyeur bust? That Giuliani was behind tearing that apart and all, and I'd forgotten that entire thing until I went back and watched this. All right, let's get back to when Giuliani first came into office. It was, I believe, it's the broken windows theory that got involved.
Well, there was a criminologist by the name of George Kelling, and he was associated. He and a guy named Wilson had written in the early '80s a theory of policing theory, as a criminologist do, in the Atlantic Monthly magazine, and it came to be widely read and commented on among academics and police professionals. It's known, euphemistically, it's known as the broken windows theory of policing. And in short, it basically says, puts forward the idea, if you, for instance, an abandoned building in an area, say, the kids will start breaking the windows. And if the windows are not repaired, they'll start breaking more windows. I think many of us did that in schools when we were kids, but they always fixed the windows. The theory goes, if you don't fix the windows, it's an indication that there's no one in charge, no one cares, and they'll break all the windows, and then they'll go on and wreck the interior, and ultimately there's a sequence of further depredations and disintegration. So they apply that to policing, which essentially what it translates into is arrests will be made for what used to be small ticketing offenses. For instance, in New York City, it's always been a tradition. I grew up with it. You buy a can of beer, you get a brown bag with it.
Mm-hmm.
You walk out in the park, you can drink your beer, and as long as it has a brown bag, it's okay. Cops would never say anything to you. Well, under the broken windows theory of policing, an open container, which is technically illegal, that used to be almost like a prophylactic. You put on your brown paper bag and you could walk freely. Take your brown paper bag off, you get busted for open beer container. Well, under the new regime, under Mayor Giuliani and Commissioner Bratton, that then became they started arresting people, taking them down to what's known as the tombs here, and processing them through the system overnight.
Because it takes forever to run through that system.
And it's horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a nightmare. And this happened to hundreds of thousands of people. And most of those cases were thrown out of court. On their face, they're illegal. I mean, there was no probable cause. There's none of those constitutional protections that we all, when we find out we need them.
Right.
We're basically strip searching, for instance. There was a situation with strip searching, which was declared unconstitutional on its face. Under Commissioner Carrick at Corrections, they had a policy. Everybody gets strip searched. That means your grandmother, who was mistakenly arrested for shoplifting, went down and got strip searched. 50,000 people were illegally strip searched. They had a class action suit. They are still paying off various people for that. Up to $50 million is what they thought it was going to cost the city. The amount of money for illegal arrests, dismissed cases, for instance, the Abner Louima, Amadou Diallo, the cases where people died, but there were many cases where police brutality ended up with large lawsuits. The amount of money that the city became responsible for police brutality, among other things, went up by hundreds of millions of dollars.
But in the meantime, crime was going down, and we were being sold the thing that is a better, safer place.
Crime went down everywhere in the country.
Yeah.
San Diego, Boston went down. They didn't have quality of life policing there. They didn't have broken windows there. So, again, it's a mixed bag. You have to, there's a way of coloring and shaping. Giuliani was a master at it. He
had a PR firm, and it was working his way all the time.
Daily press conferences that he ruled with an iron hand.
But at the same time, let's just admit this: we don't see public drunkenness like you used to back in the day. You don't see public urination in the city of New York. You won't give the police any credit for maybe they came down on some of these smaller crimes and made it a more livable city?
No, I do think that there is less of the obvious low-level crimes, public drinking, for instance. I think there is less of that. I don't know if that's because of heavy enforcement. I do know that the police eventually got really pissed off because they had quotas, and it's in the film. They test that. You see by the end of the film, the police are furious with Giuliani, want him to get rid of him, but they had the quota for quality of life arrests. Listen, in 1993, how many pot arrests do you think there were under Dinkins in 93?
No idea.
739. Do you know what there were the last year of the Giuliani administration? 22,500. Does that improve our quality of life? We got rid of smoking pot in public.
Well, it is kind of odd that you don't have, let's say, you never asked if you want to buy a joint. It used to be, as you're walking in the street, you want to buy a joint, I walk back and forth to work. I never hear it anymore. And
is that a good thing?
Well, I'm not saying that's so much a good thing, but that also keeps people from selling crack. It also keeps people from selling heroin.
Well, they drove it inside. I think
but it's not where it's not coming out. It's not jumping out at the kids anymore. You don't see a lot of kind of street hooligans harassing younger girls and stuff. It's a really safe city right now compared to where it was before. And again, I don't know whether to give all the credit to Giuliani. I know the city still votes for Bloomberg. I mean, it still is staying with that kind of Giuliani shadow is still over the city, don't you think?
I think many of the same policing strategies are still in place. I think the computerized statistics program, which is known as CompStat, is ended up being a very effective new utilization of information gathering. They still use that. I think a lot of the strategies that were innovative are but hey, listen, that's good. We've come a long way from where we were with community policing that wasn't really practiced. I think that the police force was professionalized to a large degree, and that's Bratton and Kelly and the real professional cops that came in and went to work.
You were a fan of Bratton and the work that he did.
Well,
I know Giuliani kind of moved him out pretty quick.
Well, he fired him. He quit. But I think Bratton was Bratton was a smart guy who, a working cop who came up from the ranks in Boston. He had a long history of being, straight shooter, really serious professional. It intellectual too. I mean,
Right.
a reader and writer, and a guy who, he's in L.A. now. I assume. I don't know if he's doing good. I guess you could hear from your folks out there. I'd be curious to know how Bratton is in
One
LA.
of the problems that I'd heard about Bratton from the Giuliani side is that he was in Elaine's every night drinking and not doing work. You're saying it was more of professional jealousy between the two.
I know the Elaine's, the stories of him hanging out in Elaine's with a lot of folks. I don't know if he was drinking a lot. I know that they were socializing and partying a lot, but they were doing a lot. They were working hard. They were at work the next day working hard. Him and Jack Maples. Maples is another guy who didn't get enough credit. I think he was a working guy, sergeant who really. He's in the film. He's a real character. He did a lot of that work too, and a lot of the lower tier, Timoney, and a lot of the other lower tier commissioners. They went to work hard.
So you're saying a lot of people came in, but we only know the one name, Rudy Giuliani.
He got the credit for it.
Kevin Keenan's in studio with us. His new documentary is Giuliani Time. That's opening in New York today. And Kevin's going to be at a 7:20 screening of the film at Landmark Sunshine Cinema. That's at 143 East Houston Street.
I got a lot of people that want to talk to you on the phones. You want to open up the phones for them a little bit?
Great.
All right. Rick, you're on the Ron and Fez show. Say hi to Kevin. Rick,
Hey, Kevin, how you doing?
Hey, buddy.
Hey, Rick.
Yeah, I'm a cop. I really wanted to call up and yell at you, but you just got out the all the information I wanted. It was really Bratton who brought all this theory and Maple to New York, and Giuliani couldn't handle the fact that what they did overshadowed him, and it upset Giuliani very much. But I did want to get one point across.
Hey, Rick, can I just say one thing? I recommend highly read Bratton's book. It's called
I read it.
It is just revelatory. It's just so full of absolutely startling information.
What's the name of the book?
I actually knew those two guys personally.
You did. You work with them, so you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's all, But the point of the broken windows theory is if you don't get the little things, then the criminals feel they could do everything else. In other words, like if you don't stop me from smoking a joint in the corner, I could start grabbing pocketbooks and stuff.
And do you believe in that theory, Rick? You stay with it?
Absolutely, Ron. It is. If you let the little things go, everything adds up.
But
you
Rick,
have to stop the little.
But Rick, to a hammer, to a nail, every hammer, whatever that is. You start seeing, quality of life violations become you're enshrouded by it. Becomes.
No. Has it gone too far? Absolutely.
That's my
point. At some point, we do need a balance, but a guy's got to be able to walk down the street. It may not be a crime. Here's the problem. What I had with the '80s, there was sex and drugs in Manhattan, but it wasn't the good sex and it wasn't the good drugs. It was really as tacky as you could possibly get.
Well, how much money did you have? What circles were you traveling in? Look at these bars on the West Side now. You got these guys are spending $50,000 a night to have lap dances and all that.
Right.
Is that really a lot different?
Well, it is for a quality of life type thing. Like in Vegas, you're going to enjoy the sex and drugs and gambling that you have in Vegas. Yeah. You don't necessarily want to be walking down the street and having guys playing craps in front of you, though, on the street. It sets it up where it's a much tackier way to live.
Hey, Rick.
Oh, I already.
Okay. I was just going to say, to Rick's point, speaking as a cop with experience, look, a lot of the quality of life thing, and there were quotas. I was hoping he would address that, and they were overworked, and they weren't getting raises, and they were working hard, and it was sort of lubricated by enormous amounts of overtime. But what about the hundreds, and this is documented, hundreds of thousands of false arrests? A lot of mostly young black males, being stopped and frisked and being tossed, and nothing happened. They make up a reason why they stopped. No probable cause. These what they're called UR 250 forms. There was an aggressiveness to it. Look, it sounds good on paper, quality of life policing, and get rid of the urination and the rest of it. And yes, it's a practical application. You get rid of those the 3-card Monte guys. Mm-hmm. But how many are there? A couple dozen, couple hundred. You do all that and get done of it. But the hundreds of thousands of others who had their lives interfered with by cops who were trying to make their numbers, make their quotas, become aggressive, I guess, to earn, advancement, career advancement. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of things at play here. But I hope there are more cops out there can call in and we can hear some more stories about it, because that's the untold story about what happened.
All right, here's Michael. Michael, you're on Ron and Fez. How are you, buddy?
I'm really good, but I'm also, furious. I have so many things I want to say. I'm going to try to stay focused on just one or two.
Okay, go ahead, buddy.
I'm a lifelong New Yorker, and first of all, I don't know if you noticed, but your guest never answered your first question. You asked if the point of his movie was to thwart any political aspirations Giuliani might have. And after a 5-minute answer, your question still went unanswered.
I'll answer it. I'll tell you what. I'll say yes to that. I'll answer it right now. Yes, thwart those ambitions.
Obviously.
Okay, we don't want that guy to be president. Are you crazy?
No. When you say we, you mean you.
I mean us. Us out of here in the population.
Also, okay.
You don't want that
guy. Who don't have the forum that you have to make their case.
And the skill.
Let's give him credit. I mean, it's not like it was handed to him from his parents. He made this film.
Michael, I've been making films for 35 years. I'm not a novice.
No, I understand that. It's not like, you just showed up on the radar all of a sudden.
Are you going to go see the film? You going to go see it?
I certainly intend to.
Come tonight and ask me some questions.
And you know what?
Come to the Sunshine tonight.
When I take the subway into the city, I will feel safe doing it. And 20 years ago, I did not when I was in my 20s.
Were you
and now
smoking
I'm in
crack?
my 40s, and I feel safer now than I did then.
All right, let me ask Kevin.
I bet you're white.
Is he safer, or was it more of a perception thing in the 80s? Was it safe to take the subway?
I took the subway all the time.
It's definitely not just perception. It's definitely not.
I agree. It was not just perception. I agree.
Because I saw things on a constant basis 20 years ago that I do not see now.
Remember Getz shooting the kids?
My whole life.
Bernard Getz. Bernard Getz. Remember that? Shooting those kids?
I know you like to quote extremes from one end to the other. Bernard Getz obviously is not the answer.
What did you think?
And Bernie Getz didn't solve the subway crime. Because after Bernie Getz, I saw plenty of things in the subway.
You like the Guardian Angels?
There were still groups of 4 or 5 kids that would come into a car and surround people.
Did the Guardian Angels save us, or was it the NYPD?
I saw the Guardian Angels 3 times in my whole life.
Well, did they have an effect on street level crime?
I don't believe so now.
Okay, well, what was the answer? Was it policing or Giuliani?
Giuliani was very anti the Angels too, right?
I believe he was, yes.
But Curtis Lee
was a form of vigilantism, and he was against it. They were lawbreakers sometimes, I heard.
Okay, but continue, Mike. I want to hear more about what your observations are.
Like I say, just walking the streets, my own wife has often said that she will do things now that she would not do then. Sometimes she has to work late, and her company will arrange a car for her, and she says she doesn't always do it because she does not mind taking public transportation 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, whereas 15, 20 years ago, she would not do it.
I think there's been a big change in our society. I agree with you. I feel the same way. It is safer, it is cleaner, it has changed, but it is not because of Rudy Giuliani solely and singularly.
I don't think it's because 2,000 heroin addicts died of AIDS.
That's
the most ludicrous statement I ever heard in my life.
Think about it for a second. It is something that the sociologists and the statisticians have factored in, which is what you should do, because there are many factors involved here, not just low-level crime enforcement. There were many factors. So think about it, Michael. Add them all up, and what you get is a tectonic shift in the societal behavior. That is what happened. Look, what do you think?
And by the way, I'm not just talking about low level. I don't consider being accosted physically on the subway or on the street corner as a low-level crime.
Were you ever accosted?
Absolutely.
Well, I never was, so I don't know quite.
And I was held up at gunpoint twice in the 80s.
You must
but not
have been,
in the late 90s.
Were you walking around with a lot of gold jewelry, or why were you so tantalizing?
I told you I worked in retail.
Okay.
I was held up in places of business twice.
Well, I think
and I had stores swarmed. Once in Brooklyn on Court Street, swarmed by mobs of kids, and once on 2nd Avenue in the Upper East Side in the 70s.
Well, as they say, a conservative is a liberal who's been mugged. I guess that's your experience.
I want to get, there's so many calls to get. Kevin is here with us today, Fez.
Kevin Keating, his film is Giuliani Time, a documentary about Rudolph Giuliani and his time as mayor in New York City. And Kevin is going to be at the Landmark Sunshine Cinema tonight on East Houston, taking questions at the 7:20 screening.
And one of the things is, and I know some people agree, some people don't agree, but one thing I've got to say I do agree with you on, and I really don't know the answer is, at the same time New York City got cleaned up, so did Philadelphia, so did Boston, so did Chicago, Cleveland. Something did take place, and again, it was under the Clinton administration, if you're going to give credit to one person or whatever. Something took place in the 90s where our cities became much more livable.
I agree.
And I don't know I really don't know what this reason is.
Well, I think it's again, it's some deep sociological movements, a lot of changes in general behavior. Who knows? I mean, they'll sort this out in an academic way, and maybe someday they'll have some simple answers for us. But I think the notion of a perfect storm is what comes to my mind. There were so many things that all conjoined around the same time, and it all worked in our favor. We all the quality of our life was improved, but there were a number of reasons for that.
All right, Kevin, I got another cop for you. Here's George. George, you're on Ron and Fez. How are you, pal?
Hey, how you doing, buddies? Big ass call 24338.
What's up, big man?
Nothing. I just want to, Kevin, I'm going to rent the movie when it comes out on DVD, but I got to disagree with you on most of your points here. And forgive me, I'm a little nervous. This is my first time calling
Take your
radio.
time. We're fine.
Come to the movie tonight. Let's talk.
Well, I got my kid's birthday, but otherwise.
Okay.
But anyway, listen, Kev, you mentioned like in 1993 there was like only 60 arrests. Guys were getting arrested for quality of life of pot. But in 1993 there's about 1,700 homicides also.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was a cop for 15 years in Bed-Stuy, Manhattan, all over the place. New York City was a bad time back then. I mean, now I could take my kids to go see The Lion King or something like that. Back then, you used to go wearing a suit of armor.
Yeah.
And I was a cop. I had a gun on me. It was bad.
Yeah. No, listen, I agree. Things were just clearly the potential for violence was higher. But I try to emphasize so many things came into play to eliminate that apparent problem that we all feel safer. I think we all feel.
Kev, I don't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry, but you can't downplay like these sociologists and criminologists. I mean, they're all pencil pusher guys. I mean, my friends, they had to put their kids in bathtubs that lived in Crown Heights so they wouldn't get hit by stray bullets. I mean, every New Year's, the community would go out and let rounds go, shoot in the air for celebrations.
Yeah.
And I'm a union guy, and Giuliani is very anti-union, so I'm no fan of his either.
Right.
But what he basically did was going after the quality of life guys. You got all the criminals, and you can't contribute that to like the 2,000 heroin addicts dying or this or that.
Again, that's only one of many, but I'm thinking.
Yeah, I understand, but heroin addicts are only very, very low
very
level.
Small. I agree, but it is a factor. What I'm saying is, look, what was called euphemistically referred to as quality of life policing. That was the kind of the rhetoric and the overarching language that they used. What it really was, and you probably know this, it was suppression policing. It was go out there and get the job done, whatever it took to get the job done. When I say hundreds of thousands of people were arrested for nothing, it is backed up by. You can read the Elliot Spitzer report. I don't know if you have a problem with that. I think it's looked upon by all as a pretty thorough and substantial. I mean, the feds almost came in and put a monitor in over at NYPD.
Well,
you know that.
Kevin, you can't go by lawsuits because the city pays out lawsuits to every single person.
No, I'm not saying lawsuits. I'm talking about when the federal monitor almost came in because at the time by the time Amadou Diallo was killed, I think the morale of the NYPD was probably at its lowest point in its entire history. You know the problems they had recruiting. They spent 12 and 15. 12.
And you're absolutely right about the quota system. That's been in effect for since I've been a cop, and it will be forever. The problems you're complaining about now, or more so even now today, about the grandmothers getting locked up for jaywalking, being in the park after dusk. You should probably do. I believe Giuliani's policies in terms of policing worked back then when the city was like the Wild West. But now they've gotten completely out of control, and you have mothers getting summonses for being in the park after dusk with their kids. This goes way past teenagers drinking beers and getting drunk and getting rowdy.
Yeah, and it is an interesting thing about Giuliani is that he's the type of guy that you need maybe in a trouble situation.
Well, you're from Philly, right?
Yeah.
How about Rizzo? How did he work out?
Rizzo was a mad dog, but I never felt like he totally had control of the city. Maybe because at the age I was, too, I got drugged through the roundhouse a couple times for doing stuff that would be considered low level. But you knew where not to deal and where not to cop under Rizzo. You knew that there was neighborhoods that you could do it in and neighborhoods that you couldn't.
Well, I think that's what happened here. I mean, a lot of the drug dealing was driven indoors. I'm clueless as to what the status of the drug market is. What you used to walk through Washington Square Park, and there would be guys. They were not harassing or threatening. They would just, you want to buy a joint? Hey, the kind of hustle that you would get on the boardwalk.
To me and you, yeah, but your parents, they didn't know how to find a fucking customer. That was their problem.
Right.
You know what I mean? They said to everybody.
Here's the thing, too, Kev. Like when you live in Bed-Stuy and stuff, and the guys are selling crack and they're shooting each other from one block to the next because they're having block wars.
Yeah.
Your kids can't even go outside and play in the
No,
in the front
that's
stoop
terror.
anymore.
They're terrorized. I remember, you're right, the crackling of the gunfire at night, and that era thank God, is gone. I mean, it isn't here anymore. But by the way, where'd all that crack come from? I don't think it was low-level guys in Bed-Stuy bringing it in from.
Well, we can't engage in like multi-level, huge conspiracies now. We're just talking about regular street-level crime.
Well, okay, but as I remember, it was the Reagan administration and the Contras who were bringing in.
Well, Kev, I don't want to get into that.
Okay.
We'll bring the Freemasons next. I mean, come on.
All right, thanks a lot, George. Thanks for calling.
Good question. Thank you, George. You did very well.
Thanks.
866 Ron Zero Fez, 866 Ron Zero Fez. Here's something that we can remember, even if you're a Giuliani fan. When he was running against Hillary Clinton, and he pulled out because of saying of his illness, the truth is, and everybody knew it, he was not going to beat Hillary Clinton. For a guy who's treated as a saint now, and a lot of us, and I'm one of the people who has nothing but good things to say with 9/11 and the way he handled himself. I will never forget how well he did. He was going to lose to Hillary Clinton in New York.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It was an early pullout, so we never had anything crystallizing as to what was going to happen. But let me ask you let's talk a little bit about his performance on 9/11.
Okay.
I'm a New Yorker. I was here. I watched him on television. What startles me is that, Mayor Giuliani appeared before the 9/11 Commission to testify.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't ask him any questions. They didn't ask him about the radios that the firemen didn't have and the cops did, and the mayday that went out from the helicopter telling the firemen that they had to get out and they didn't know it.
Mm-hmm.
So they died without awareness. There are a lot of things that happened on 9/11 that Mayor Giuliani, as the chief executive, placing the Emergency Management Center in the target. Was that 7 World Trade Center? What was that about? Why was the Emergency Management Center at 7 World Trade Center? The place had been bombed in 93. It was a high-profile target. Why do you put your Emergency Command Center on the, I think the 16th or the 23rd floor of the World Trade Center? And look what happened. Kapooey, it's gone. They didn't have a command center. Was that good management? I mean, there are a number of other issues that I think, with a little bit of distance and time, they're going to be examined. I know, for instance, that Wayne Barrett, who plays a large part and wrote a book about Rudy that revealed so much about his background, his family background, and a lot of other things, has a new book that's going to be coming out near September 11th that is going to be explosive about Giuliani and 9/11. Mm-hmm. I'm told. I haven't read the book. I'm told by Wayne that there are going to be revelations that are going to basically knock our socks off about what actually happened. Now, there's a wonderful book by Jim Dwyer called 102 Minutes. I don't know if you know about it or have read it. It's an absolutely mesmerizing, fascinating description of the 102 minutes from the first impact to the collapse of the second building. And he restricts himself to what happened in the buildings and a structural analysis. Read that. You find out a lot of the transmissions from the firemen and what happened inside is a very different picture of what we have as lay people on the outside of what happened on 9/11. So I don't think the kind of
you think history is going to show a different Rudy Giuliani because they're not going to have the same feelings about him that we did.
I think so, because it was so emotional. We all saw Mayor Giuliani on television, and we all knew that our government was still operating. That's what happened at a very primal level. It's okay. Someone's in control. The president was gone, and he was there.
That's a very good point, because to get back to that, the president was really, if you were a New Yorker at that time, when he was zigzagging across the country, and you were wondering what happened, he was taking off in the other direction. Now, you can blame the Secret Service, or it was the smartest thing for the country. The fact is, Rudy Giuliani ran into the smoke and stayed on TV. In a way that, people go, well, he was a great leader, thinking that somehow he was Churchill and saying great stuff. What he was saying on TV is, we have the N train running, trash will not be picked up on Wednesday, it'll be picked up on Thursday, schools will be open only for this and that area. And he was able to make us, if you were in the city at that time, think, yeah, I can do this too. I got to take care of the small stuff.
Yeah,
and I'll never forget the guy for it. I will always think to myself, and it's the same way with like a cop in the neighborhood that could be a bad cop, but then he'll run into your house and, pull your mom out when it's on fire.
Instinctively, yeah. I think you're right.
He is that kind of a man, and he'll always have a place in my heart for what he did then. Mm-hmm. Where I can't say the same thing for the president, and I'll think of Giuliani the same way I think of those cops and those firemen that ran in. And I think that is still there for him.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is. And I think I think he could get more Democrat votes if he ran. because I think in the same way here in the city, where people go, I'm liberal, but I don't want to be fucked with on the street. I want to be taken care of. I think that would work for him around the country. I don't know whether he can get the Republican votes when they get into the, what about prayer in school and all that kind of stuff. I don't know how he'll do with all that.
I think that his positions regarding choice and regarding gay rights, regarding gun control, are the three most prominent problematic areas for him with right-wing and conservative. But I think he will also modify and chuck those over.
You think he will?
Overboard. I think he wants very, very much to be president.
I got a couple more cops for you here. Everybody wants to talk to you, Kev. I'm going to go with some people who disagree with you. There's some that agree, but I think it's more interesting to have you be in here and talk about your viewpoint. Here's Larry. Larry, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, Ron and Fez, big-ass card holder, 1952.
How are you, pal? What can we do for you?
How's everything going on?
Good.
Listen, Kevin.
Yes.
You had me, very interested in listening to you at the beginning of, when you're talking. He goes, but now, towards the end there, you're starting to lose me. It sounds like you're just another conspiracy nut.
About what?
Well, you're talking about the books. I understand. Listen, 20 years I'm out of this job. I worked during that time, high crime areas. I'm no fan of the mayor. He is anti-union.
Mm-hmm.
But, you sound like you have some good points in regards to this movie that's doing, but then you keep going back to the fact, with 9/11, with the Iraq War.
I didn't bring up 9/11. I'm sorry, I didn't bring it up. I think you.
Well, no, you just brought up about reading two books.
Oh, I said there's a new book that's coming out that I anticipate is going to change some perceptions.
You start having good points, but then you start leaning towards like conspiracy nut. You know what I mean?
I'm not. I hope that's not the impression I want to convey. I just want to say that I think from what we know what happened on 9/11. I don't quarrel with what was just described as Mayor Giuliani's behavior on television. I don't.
Right.
We all experienced that. I think that when I said that when Mayor Giuliani appeared before the 9/11 Commission, a commission named by President Bush, and he was not asked any questions. I think there's something wrong with that. I don't know why.
Well, I think the whole commission was wrong because they didn't do their job.
Oh, okay, so we're in agreement. That's not conspiracy. We're conspiring, you and I.
Right.
Okay.
I think that we could all say that the planning, nobody knew that this was going to happen, and maybe there should have been more planning, and maybe there's something we could look to in the future.
Oh, but that's not true. You mean about the World Trade Center?
Yeah.
Well, they were enormous. One of the things that there was an operation that they were in. That the FEMA had an exercise that was for September. I think it was for September 10th. It was called Operation Tripod. That the pier on the west side that happened to be there with all of the hazmat equipment.
Yeah, right.
That was all ready to go. They stepped into that, and they utilized that pier in a couple of days because they were preparing for a mock exercise of a chemical attack on New York City. Well, tell me, maybe you know more about it.
It does, but it doesn't make a difference how much you prepare.
It does, absolutely.
I have that training, and if it gets to the point, and basically when I went through that training after 9/11, if it gets to the point that you have to use that hazmat equipment, it's too late.
It's too late.
It's too late.
Well, maybe it's psychological for you guys that are out there in the front lines, and you need to know you have something. I don't know how the psychology.
What makes a good cop then, Larry? Is just something you're born with? You're saying the training doesn't matter?
Well,
yeah.
No, the training does matter, and to be more up to date on training is good. But it also takes common sense. I'm around 20 years in this job. You know what I mean? So I came on in the 80s and up to now. I went from shit, and it's actually to good. Like in neighborhoods I've worked in, the way crime is and all that. And but it also takes common sense. Listen.
And experience, I imagine. I imagine that you probably have thousands of stories you could tell us right now, each one of which would be absolutely fascinating. For you, it's day-to-day behavior. It becomes instinctive, reflexive. That's what you guys do. That's why we respect you so much, because you guys are on the front lines. And I think, that these FEMA exercises that were in place prior to 9/11, they happen with a certain amount of regularity and frequency. Mayor Giuliani.
All these exercises with regularity, and the regular person, the regular cop on patrol like myself, we're not involved in half those things.
You're not involved.
You know what I mean? So I think it's more of a front to the public.
Well, listen, I think
because half the things we don't know about.
Yeah, well, listen, Mayor Giuliani in his then by 2001, I think it was what would have been 8 years, had been at hundreds of major fires, steam explosions, airplane crashes.
Right.
You know, there's something that you learned on the job and how to handle an emergency situation with a certain calmness and serenity because you've been through it.
Exactly.
The same with Mayor Giuliani. He'd been tempered by many experiences. So when it came time to the moment on 9/11, it was not new to him. It was the magnitude, it was the scale, and the weird factor.
Well, magnitude was new for everybody.
But there he was, and he in a way he probably went on autopilot and handled it the way he should have and did, and that's what we'll always remember him for.
Well, yeah. Well, anybody that's good at a job, a cop, a politician, you know, is going to go on automatic.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Because you're going to have that. You're either going to have it or you don't.
Yeah.
And Kevin, just one point before I go.
Yeah. Go ahead, pal.
I never arrested anybody that wasn't guilty.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Larry.
Good.
Well, you know, a lot of those things, I mean, he came up with a point, we all laughed at about it, but you're saying a lot of that stuff, it had always been on the books, the open container law, selling loose joints, it had always been around, so you could have been arrested, but at certain times we relax with it,
right.
You know?
Well, it's like community policing. You know the cop on the beat, he knows you, he knows who the wise guys are in the community, in the neighborhood. A lot of it is, you know, the getting out of the squad cars, walking the beat, you know every store owner, you know who is in the neighborhood and what they do, and that whole concept of authentic, real community policing. That's the best. When you know who your cops are, who would you rather say good morning to than the cop that you like?
Right.
Right.
Here is George. George, you got a question for Kevin?
Hey, Ron and Fez. First, let me just say I bought XM once you guys were coming back.
Oh, thanks,
I love
buddy.
The show.
Thanks.
And second of all, I'd like Kevin to admit if he has any Democratic National Committee investors or other investors that are heavily involved in the Democratic Party.
Admit or declare? What? No, none. I wish. Listen, if you know any money Democrats, tell them to see me right now because I need money to advertise the film. I am open to investors of any political stripe. Okay.
A good deal of your stuff was taken right off the news and news pieces too, as well, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this stuff is out there, but the way we are as Americans, you don't always remember even your recent history.
Well, let's also remember that Mayor Giuliani and his administration absolutely cold refused to cooperate with us. He wouldn't give us interviews. None of the administration heads were allowed to talk to us. We had press credentials, but no cooperation from the Giuliani side, unfortunately.
Have you ever met the mayor before?
No. Don't know him.
All right, we do got to go. Thanks so much for coming in. It was a lot of fun.
Great. And the callers were great. I like those questions, guys.
Yeah, and it was good. It was fun to see everybody tussle around, and it's good stuff for, I think, people to be talking about.
Kevin Keating, his new film, Giuliani Time, it opens today in New York, and you can see him tonight at the 7:20 screening of Giuliani Time. That's going to be at the Landmark Sunshine Cinema, 143 East Houston Street, and then at some different screenings throughout the weekend.
Have you gotten this to any film festivals? Were you part of the Tribeca Film Fest? Or?
No, Tribeca turned it down.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, Sundance turned it down. Woodstock they all turned it down for who knows.
You never know the reasons?
You never know the reasons. But the one film, domestic, I mean, it went to Rotterdam, it went to Vancouver, Sydney, all that, and a lot of acclaim. It got great reviews. And then the one domestic festival was just a few weeks ago. It was out in L.A. It's called the Silver Lake Film Festival. And they invited us to put the film in, and so we did. And it won the festival. So I don't know. It's an odd thing. People have interesting reactions to things related to Giuliani.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much for being here with us. That's it for us, gang. We're back here Monday. Got a nice long weekend off.
Yep, and we'll see you at Caravis over the weekend.
Oh, I forgot all about that. We'll be at Caravis Saturday night with the band Crankcase.
Crankcase and the comedy of Dave and Roberto.
Oh,
you won't want to miss that.
All right, so thanks, everybody. We'll see you again on Monday. Take care.
Thank you, Kevin Keating.
Thank you.
Show. XM 202.